Hello, everybody, and welcome to Watkins Glen International here in New York as we're getting ready to start the second round of the playoffs here for the HTL Cup Series live on ABN. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kristina Ryan. Alongside me is Kevin Young. And qualifying has just begun and is underway, and unlike what we're used to seeing in most races this season, since it's a road course, it's a group qualifying session of 20 minutes. These drivers have unlimited laps that they can put down, but at the end of that time, we will then have our drivers ready to roll for an extensive race here along one of the most famous tracks in New York. Kev, good afternoon. Should be an exciting race, the final road course of the season. What are we looking forward to here?
Well, first of all, it's good to be home sweet home here for the HTL, finishing up the last couple rounds here. Obviously, Watkins Glen, someone's kind of put a good quote out there. It's the super speedway of road courses where you see strange things occurring, great battles to the finish line, and a lot of drivers driving in and out very aggressively. So keep an eye on a lot of things. Some drivers having to save some fuel, some drivers being very aggressive, but it should provide at least a little bit of unpredictability, and some drivers bringing home the glory. As we were kind of talking about a little bit earlier, it is only a few more rounds to the finishing of the regular season HTL, and considering the fact that we just had the first round of the playoffs end last week, we are now down to 8 drivers left for the driver standings here, and we will see how it all plays out shortly, as a lot of drivers are looking poised to try to get a run at the championship here.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we get settled in here, 6 drivers, now 7, have turned a lap time thus far. 16 minutes remaining in qualifying, so we'll go ahead and take you down to the on-track action following none other than Josh Soucy, the defending champion of the HTL Cup Series in his second full-time season. He advanced in last week after a hectic round in Kentucky, and he finds himself headed through the carousel now in close tow behind Caleb Carter, who is still filling in for DJ Trout in that number 93 machine.
To be fair with Josh Soucy, obviously going into the round, he was pretty much set for the most part. He was obviously 29 points above the cut line, and now with the reset, he is now 19 points above the line for the next 3 rounds. So poised to at least look like the make a championship run here to defend the championship honor. But obviously things can change, but with less of a cushion he had in the first round, if he has a similar slump like he did in that first round, he could be at going into Fontana, racing for pride rather than the championship. But right now, currently P4 for the Lady Liberty driver, as he's now cutting up the hill here. He's going to have a good run here if he wants to beat either of his teammates in the sense of Caitlin Height or the number 33, as we cut to Caitlin Height right now, or the 33 of Josh Gaiman for the sister team of Valfreya Motorsports. So looks like at the moment it is domination for Valfreya and Lady Liberty as they are blocking out the top parts of the charts here.
Yeah, that pretty much has been par for course for the whole season, hasn't it, Kevin? They have been one of the most dominant teams, not one to mess with and not one to stand down from a fight. And pretty much every driver from that stable has put up results when it mattered at some point. So no surprise to see them fighting over the top spots. We also have Rodriguez and Gaiman in the fight as well here, with Connor Morris, one of the youngest drivers in HTL, sitting in the mix as well. But how about this? How about Dustin Hall going up to P2 in that number 12 machine? We know he's one of the few drivers that have been able to constantly take the fight to the Valfreya Motorsports team and Lady Liberty. So it's still going to be a good race tonight.
Yeah, he was a late bloomer this season, someone that is definitely found his form later on. Someone we personally have said don't count out, even though he is still currently winless. But he is a driver that has shown his teeth here and is ready to make his fangs be shown as the rest of the season play on. A closer, if you will, when the rounds press on. Caitlin Height there finished that lap here, and she didn't not improve on her time, but she's still P1, so it's very hard to prove from that. There's Dustin Hall currently on P2 here as he's now through the last sector of the track here, just trying to find that little extra time, maybe an extra 10th, and could be in spot to make a run at pole position.
Yeah, coming through the final 2 corners now. We'll see him take that right-hand turn, put the pedal down, and try and get that Conti machine out with some good momentum. Sounds like it gripped up pretty well across the line. Is it going to be enough to improve? He needs to find a 10th if he wants to take provisional pole position. This lap will not be the one, though. It stays P2 for car number 12, but still plenty of time left in the session. But Rodriguez, Yahir Rodriguez in the number 97 has just stolen the show with almost a quarter second faster lap time in that ascent number 97.
Yep, he saw it, was about to ring it in, but by the time I saw it, he was already across the line. It was a purple Sector 1, a purple Sector 2, was not the fastest, though, in Sector 3. There's a little time left on the board, so we'll have to see if any driver can really match that range here. Obviously, Yai here has had an up-and-down season, has been very strong, but you could probably call them their own worst enemy in certain spots where they had a very good chance to win at North Wilkesboro at the Rock, and didn't end up taking home victory at that track. They've also had some strong runs at the road course and a bunch of other road courses, but have yet to find the glory of victory. But obviously, you're only as good as your next race, and right now, Yai here setting the tone early that they have a chance to find their way to victory lane. And this is something interesting. You can see right now in front of Yai here, it is a big smorgasbord ahead of that number 95 machine here, as it's like 3 cars ahead, 2 cars behind, and this is where real estate really matters on this track, as Pacey Wygent now goes P2. Having someone in front of you can be a bit helpful, maybe with brake lines, getting that little extra toe down some of these long straights. However, there is the risk in the sense that if you are faster than the car in question, as Yai here gets a big tank slapper, if you are faster than the car ahead of you, you may run them down, or it may impede your lap enough that it may be a net negative instead of a net positive, as you see the 3 right now going to suck up to the back of the 95. Problem is, though, if the 95 slows down here, it could impede enough on the 3. The 95 will just pull over and try to get out of the way, giving the 3 clean sailing to try to continue her chase to get back to pole position.
Yeah, I think she caught the wall there also up the S, as you see a little bit of damage on that right side of that number 3 machine. Pacey Wygent throwing his hat in the ring as well, of course, one of the other drivers that have been able to actually take the fight to the Chevrolets this season. Obviously putting in an excellent effort at Kentucky, so trying to keep that momentum going, and so far on the front row as it stands, it's Yahir Rodriguez, Pacey Wygent, Caitlin Height, Dustin Hall, and Josh Gaiman, the top 5, with Connor Morris rounding out that 3rd row at the moment. About halfway through this open qualifying session, and then we'll get things underway here. But yeah, over 20 drivers have turned a lap time so far. A few drivers have yet to still, but half a session ago, Hunter Peach and Bobby Blauer still needing to turn a lap time. Only 22 cars on the circuit right now, so it should be a pretty small field for tonight's race.
Yeah, Hunter Peach is an interesting case, as he's okay at the road courses. I wouldn't call him a ringer, but the problem is, let's look at this top half of the field right now, and obviously, just to note at home, if the driver is in a tealish blue, they are currently still in the playoffs. If the driver's in a dark blue, they are no longer in the playoffs, or we're not in the playoffs to begin with, maybe part-time effort like the 97 that's currently about to cross the line again. But look at that top 10 here. Wygent, Height, Peach, Hall, Gaiman, Zier, and Sosi all inside the top 10. Only Arnold and Peach have yet to put times to get themselves in the top 10. And this is where Watkins Glen being in the playoffs, being this late, can be a bit hurtful if you're not careful. Because Hunter Peach right now still has yet to set a time. If he's coming from the back, he's got maybe 20 laps to try to get stage points. And with how this field can get spaced out, you could be in for a world of hurt if Sosi, Zier, Gaiman, Hall, Peach, Height, and Wygent all get stage points. And in turn, considering Peach is only 6 down on the line, it can make a bad hole become worse if you're not careful.
Yeah, you can see Wygent really trying to get the grips with the car too, but I think the one thing that's on the side here of Hunter Peach is that with a small field like this, there is less traffic to work through. We're used to seeing car fields in the upper 30s up to the field cap. Literally missing a third of the grid at the moment, and he has turned a lap time now, as has all the drivers on the racetrack. So Hunter Peach now up into P4, so I think he's got everything settled there.
Yep, he's got a good run there, so obviously maybe doubted the chickens before they hatched. Hunter Peach obviously maybe listening in, proving me wrong, but Kate showing that why he could be another driver to keep an eye out for in a couple of weeks at Fontana to try to hoist the championship. Speaking of drivers in the championship, obviously Pacey Wygent, a driver that could be a threat as well. There's the 74 going for a wild ride there as they will hit the inside retaining wall there. Looks like that's just coming out of the
carousel.
Carousel. Yeah. And it looks like it just spun there, got a tanker, and it ended up hitting the inside retaining wall quite aggressively there, as that is Connor Morse. Usually driving the 74, you see Braille driving, but obviously since Braille's gotten a full-time ride at Arrowhead, that seat has now been opened up for the number 74, Connor Morse, who's still inside the top 10, but that is definitely a confidence hitter for the young driver.
Yeah, but still plenty of time to get some fresh boots on and go back out there. One of the things about these NASCAR stock cars, Kev, you know as well as I do, not as sensitive to the fuel loads as a sports car is, or especially an open wheeler. So these mistakes don't punish you as much as they would in, let's say, the Champ Car Series or Hyper Formula, for example, where if you can stay out and run 10, 15 laps without an incident and then get fresh tires on low fuel, you can go almost a second faster. Not always the case here. These NASCAR cars are not too picky about the fuel load. It does help, but it doesn't help to the degree that you would usually expect it in a sports car and open wheeler. So still plenty of time for Connor Morse to put down a lap time. We know he's a very talented kid. He can probably put down a time to get himself back into that top 5.
Yeah, definitely a good strength. Just got to make sure he keeps off the incident limit points and make sure he keeps that thing on the track, because you do not want to face the wraths of getting a high incident points. Even though tonight there is no incident count as it is a road course, so no penalties if you do go that far. But it's still something you don't want to make a habit of, because one week, next week, you could slowly keep making it worse and worse and worse. And in turn, you could help push the stewards to make some judgment calls on you. 7 minutes, just 8 minutes just to pass there right now. This is another benefit, as this will be the last time we will see group qualifying this season. But the one positive of it is that it allows all the drivers kind of the same track to play with. Because we've seen throughout some weeks this year where the track conditions were optimal at X time, which affects certain drivers in certain spots. But now it's basically everyone plays the same dice. You can go out right away and get the optimal time. You can catch at the same time. But everyone is on a somewhat equal line of thought here, an equal playing field here to try to fight for pole position. So it's something nice to see and see who really is the strongest drivers. Peach really ripping that thing. That thing is basically drifting loose out coming to the bus stop.
Yeah, these 18-inch profile tires are not helping the grip at all for these cars. Of course, the real-life counterpart driving a lot better on the road courses, but I think the general consensus tends to be that this car on iRacing is unbelievably sensitive on the road courses. It's definitely harder to drive than an Xfinity car or truck would be, as far as just trying to get it all dialed in perfectly. But Peach hanging on to it. I think he's given plenty of room to give himself some open racetrack to have another go. I think that lap was DOA after he gets a little sideways in the S's. But yeah, this is the last time that it'll be a fully even playing field for qualifying. After this, it's back to the typical single car launches, and then you're kind of at the mercy of the gods. So it's interesting to watch. I always prefer open qualifying on road courses, of course. It's a little boring to watch just solo qualifying on the roadies, but yeah.
Plus, also, I think, honestly, maybe something HTL could explore in the regular season as well for the other ovals, because it is something where at least it's a tad quicker than it is on when it's just single car. Everyone goes out at one point. Speaking of, we'll cut to the 9 of Eli Sasek. Sasek, another good driver at the road courses, was eliminated last week in the playoffs. So his quest to try to find a championship will end it at Bristol, but he's still got a chance to put down a fine season and try to get himself momentum for next season. So right now, obviously trying to feel confident here. Currently last car inside the top 10. Car really kicking out there, but got a couple corners to go here. See if he can put down a decent lap to try to jump up a little bit higher up the field as he makes a big run down to the start-finish straight, and it will be a lap that will improve him up one spot to put the rookie and the young gun, Connor Morse, down to 10th. Speaking of, looking at the drivers that have put down times, every driver in the field, I believe, has put down a competitive lap, I believe. So every driver at the moment has put down a time, so no one is trying to start from the pit lane here, or at least start by putting bad laps, start further back.
See the 33 there, Gaiman getting a bit sideways as well. Kept his championship hopes alive. Continuing with that same new livery we saw from last week at Kentucky, but yeah, everybody has turned a lap time from Yahir Rodriguez all the way down to Caleb Carter on the fill-in, the slowest of all the drivers thus far, but 3 seconds of field spread, not too terrible for a road course, all things considered. Again, for those that maybe knew, not a lot of these drivers race road courses. A lot of them are oval only, so that may also explain why the numbers are so low. There's a lot of people that don't even try, but interesting to see how everybody stacks up here, because of course you always have the road course aces that come out and throw down blistering lap times, and then you have the veterans trying to run for championships in the mix. It's to put it lightly, there's a lot of SVGs in here.
Yeah, there's a lot of drivers, SVGs, road course ringers, but there are the regulars as well that are quite strong. Gaiman, we've seen him get podium after podium after podium at all the road courses we've run this year. Obviously, can't count the 81 Association 3 at Caitlin Heights. Association 1, I believe he won the Suzuka road course. So
yeah,
a lot of strong drivers, even mixed in with the one-time only SVGs of the world. We do have a good crop of road course drivers as well that made it to the playoffs and compete week in and week out. So overall, though, it shows that usually back in the day, you'd see obviously in real NASCAR, like road course ringers be more prevalent, more potent. But only drivers I can really think of today that are in that role is, for instance, Roberg and maybe Byron Jones, who have both kind of elected to maybe fill in for other teams to try to give their team a little bit of an extra lunge in the owner standings.
Yeah, and that is something that, while we don't necessarily cover it with an eagle eye, there is a lot of owner standing shenanigans going on. That's why we tend to see a lot of drivers swapping cars towards the end of the season. There's always, as Gaiman goes for a slide in the bus stop. I don't think he's keeping it off the wall. He's not. So unfortunate for him. He may not have time to get another lap in. So he's going to have to do a full reset. But there's been a lot of talk in the pit lane over whether or not you should be allowed to do that, whether it kind of goes against the spirit of, having your driver in the car all season, if you could just swap out for a road course ace on the road course. But I don't know. Nobody really cares about that except for the owners themselves. Everybody's always looking at the driver standing, and that's what's always the most important. So I guess it doesn't matter. But
you're saying that, but I think at the point, though, if you're an owner of one of these teams, you think the opposite because the checks are a little bit nicer if your team wins the owner standings.
That's true. There is an absorbent amount of money that gets thrown around in this league.
You're a driver, considering the charter prices, let alone.
Yeah, honestly.
The driver's for the pride of the driver winning that, but at the end of the day, I think all the team bosses would prefer their driver winning the owners. And considering the fact that now the drivers and the owners' points are level, all 8 drivers, because obviously the only exception was the 4 of Apperson's machine. He was obviously in the owners after Rudy Valentine piloted that car to victory. But now it's basically an equal footing. The owners and the drivers are pretty much level on points. It's obviously the same point system and no surprise names. So the final 4 we see in the drivers will be the same as the owners. So regardless of what happens, whoever has the championship at Fontana in a couple weeks' time will also be the one providing their team boss a nice gigantic check as well.
Absolutely. And we only have a few more races to go. So if you're just now tuning in, this is your first ever HTL Cup Series race, why not stick around for the next few weeks, because you've come in at the time that's probably the most critical for these drivers, for sure. So Rodriguez still leads. Wygen just went second fastest, though, only 400ths off of Yahir's time. That's why we were looking at that 0-0. He had a fresh car and some fresh Goodyear Eagles and put down a blistering lap time. Time ticking away, though. Only a minute left, and then they can finish their laps that they start, Kevin, but after that, that's Sienna qualifying, and just like that, it'll be over, and we'll be gridding up for what should be one of the longest road course races of the season. It's almost a full-length cup race.
Yeah, we do got 5 minutes warm-up, though, so we'll have that to look forward to, so that will be a last chance for drivers to use the bathroom, do what they need to do in about 40 seconds' time. But looking to see who's on a run and who's not at the moment. Seeing if anyone's really close is right now, if you're coming to the line, you do get 1 extra attempt. So if you do cross the line with 3 seconds left, you have a chance to finish your next lap. So this will probably be most likely the last lap of Caitlin Height's chance to get on pole position with 25 seconds to go. She'll make it across the line. And looking at my magical stopwatch, I think Wygen will be the last driver to take 1 more attempt at this, as the 17 Roberg is a bit too far away. Could be a mad dash. Riding aboard with 3 with her last chance dash to bump Yahir Rodriguez off pole position. And as you take a look to the sky, you can see the marshal with the firing gun, signifying shoot in the air, signifying the end of qualifying. Now times count. Wygen was the last to do the lap here, so pretty much everyone that crossed the line will finish the lap, and right now it's looking smooth for the number 3 machine.
Yeah, it's, Kevin, you've probably run plenty of laps around here as well. I've run thousands of laps around here, but every time I get out of the race car, I am always so scared when they go through the bus stop. You saw the way that Caitlin Height flicked the car in there. Susie goes 3rd fastest, so Height gonna have to find some time if she wants to stay on that second row, but they get so close to that guardrail through there, and of course this is the scan before they changed the curbs in the bus stop. They're using every single inch of this racetrack, every single lap to extract the maximum out. Height's going to cross the line. She drops down to 5th because Peach put down a time for 4th fastest. Can she respond at all? No, and she does a nice job of testing the catch fence while she's at it. So 5th fastest for her. Rodriguez looks like he's going to hold on to pole. I'm not sure if there's many other cars left out.
Wygen's going to be the last one here as he's about to cross the line. Can he make his mad dash work? Steal pole position away and give a playoff driver it? Good run there, but not going to be enough. It will still be Yair Rodriguez as the double zero will join the 3 in the catch fence there. And that should be that for qualifying. I don't see any of the drivers on competitive laps. I think Hunter Peach is on a slowdown lap here. So this should be it for qualifying unless that 20's got something up his sleeve.
It'd be an interesting move from Hunter Peach if he can put it down here. We'll take a look and see if he does have anything cooking. He's already in 4th place, so even if he doesn't put in a good lap time, it's not going to matter too much. He should be okay. But we'll see. Final 2 corners.
Yeah, it looks like it's competitive, so we'll have to see what he does. Because if it was a slowdown lap, you think he'd be going a bit slower. He would have done what we saw the other 2 drivers in. But
I
no,
ran out of time anyway, so.
Yeah, so point mute.
So that will give the pole position to Yair Rodriguez. So congratulations to him. He was he almost had it swiped away in the last second by Wygant, but Wygant not quite quick enough. Yair hangs on. So congrats to Yair on a pole position. I don't think it's his first pole position, but he doesn't run a ton of races. So anytime that, and of course he's not in the chase because of that either. So it's always fun to see someone play spoiler a little bit there. So congrats to him.
Yep, good run, obviously. Trying to recall, I think he's got some pole positions in other series in the HTL banner.
For some reason, I feel like he was on pole at Richmond, but I could be wrong.
Checking right now, checking the big book of stats we got here. No pole position. So yeah, he has not taken pole in this season, but...
Well, now he has.
Yeah, now he's got one.
Well, congratulations on first pole of the season, potentially the career for Yair Rodriguez. And very nice looking race car to get it done in. So what's going on right now is a 5-minute warm-up session. Final chance to shake down those race cars, try a couple things in the corners before the race starts. And got a long race ahead of us, Kev.
Yeah, we do got a long race, but this track is definitely a banger. It'll be quite fun to watch, to see. Hopefully we don't spoil our appetite a little bit too early. Make sure it crescendos quite nicely by finishing laps here. So some drivers use this extra time to take practice, and this is where it gets interesting. I've always said this at the road courses, but 5-minute warm is really nothing around here per se, as you only get maybe 2 attempts, 2.5 attempts to really try to get some extra laps, a little seconds of practice here. Unlike at tracks like short tracks like Martinsville, Bristol, stuff like that, Richmond, where it's quicker laps and you get more and more attempts to do something. Here, you only get really 2 attempts, so I'm shocked that a lot of drivers elect to really take this, other than maybe to use this pit lane practice and entry and exit. Is the only real thing I can think of is it feels kind of redundant really to go out here because you already had an hour warm-up and 15 minutes of qualifying. I feel like you're at your peak performance. I don't think you need much more.
Yeah, that's really all it is. It's just doing a final check. If the game works the way it's supposed to, it should put everybody's pit boxes where they will be for the race. So the pit box placement is basically what that's for. But a lot of the times it screws up and you just still have what you had from practice. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. What I use it most for, Kev, is that you get into a rhythm when you're in practice and qualifying, and you really start to understand the car. If you step away for too long, you can kind of lose touch a little bit. You don't forget how to drive the race car, but you know, you get into a rhythm, and it's a good way to keep the rhythm established as much as you can, because you know you're going to be sitting behind a pace car for about 5 minutes anyway, because there's a couple pace laps. You're going to be sitting there waiting for the grid. You don't want to lose that sensation of what you have. Obviously, we're not driving real race cars, so it's not so easy to get that seat in the pants feel, and that's something that you kind of develop in your brain. It kind of connects the dots over hours and laps of running these race cars, and you can lose that, you know, just like you would in real life. If you're in a race car and then you get out and take a little break, get back in, it takes a little while to get reacclimated. It's very important to not lose that feeling, because especially on road courses, the start of the race can be the most dictating part in the first handful of corners.
Yes, it can be. Someone that's had no success at road courses. I think I'll take your expertise on that one. But I do share the same sentiment when it comes to ovals, that especially ovals where you need to brake, let off at certain points. It definitely is a bit of a rhythm game, and it does help at least a tiny bit to keep you keep a little bit warmer in those situations. So 1:20 to go on the clock here. Only 6 drivers have put down competitive times, just showing a lot of drivers just using this pit entry and exit practice for the most part. And Hall is the fastest, but not the most indicative of what the field has here, but overall, it's, again, a good precursor of what we're going to see over 76 laps in about a minute and some change.
Yeah, it should be a good one. Of course, we have 2 cautions planned for stage breaks, but those are the only 2 cautions we'll be seeing today, barring the sport ender. The situation with that Of course, HTL has had some pretty clean races as of super late, as we see one of the Ascent cars go flying off. I think that's Lily Fraser, who's taking a hellacious slam out of the carousel. But yeah, it's one of those situations, Kev, where we've had some great races on the ovals lately that haven't been too marred with cautions, but at this point, you're pretty much only going to get 2 cautions guaranteed, and it's in the stages. So of course, in this modern era where we have stage racing on the road courses, it's completely changed how you approach a road course race. You see a lot less strategy playing until the very, very end. But we also see a lot of drivers pretty much come running down pit lane when they don't need stage points. So with this playoff format being the way it is right now, I think we see all the playoff drivers stay out to try and get those points, which opens the door for underdogs like Yahir Rodriguez, who aren't in the points, don't care about the championship. They can kind of sneak on in there and pit before the caution comes out. Then everybody pits, all the stage drivers pit, and they cycle back to the front under caution. So I think we'll see a lot of underdogs playing with the championship contenders today.
Yeah, I think so as well. Warm officially complete. We are now moving on to our main festivities here tonight for the HTL New York 300 on ABN1 for the HTL Cup Series. My name is Kevin Young, joined as always by Kristina Ryan. Regardless of who or who's not, we will both be here bringing you the rest of the season here and see who is crowned a champion. But right now you can see as the drivers get towed on, we are going to go over the starting grid and see where all our drivers are going to start after qualifying. Yahir Rodriguez and Pacey Wygant will make up row number 1. Moving on to row number 2 will be Josh Sosi and Hunter Peach, 2 playoff drivers in row 2. Row 3 is going to be Caitlin Height and Josh Gaiman, again really showing the domination of Lady Liberty and Valkyrie. They will be in row number 3. Row 4 is going to be Dustin Hall and Lilac Zier, 2 more playoff drivers who had a strong first 3 rounds last time. Can they keep that momentum going? We'll find out over the next few weeks. Eli Sass and Connor Morris will round out the top 5 here, both trying to get some good seasons to finish up on. Braille and Height will be in row 6. Good to see Callie Height back. Jerry Braille obviously almost pulled off a victory last week in Kentucky, trying to the very least to find his way to victory lane before the season ends. Row 7, Elias Flores and David Smeal Jr. will make up row 7. Row 8 is going to be Josh Arnold, the lowest of the playoff drivers, and Martin Roberg. They'll make up row number 8. Row 9 will be Bobby Blowers and Lily Frazier. Moving on to row number 10, we got Dean Clavitt and Austin Mongold. And moving on to the last row, we're going to have Zach Apperson and Caleb Carter bringing up the rear. And that is how these 22 cars line up for 76 laps at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, and a quick look at the point standings after the reset, of course. Disregard the yellow numbers of Katie Height and Lilac Zier. Everybody's even right now. All their wins have been erased effectively. They get their playoff points and whatnot, but it's another fresh slate. They have 2 races to try and get into the top 4, and this is how they stand currently. Susie atop the board with Wygant, Height, and Gaiman currently safe. Lilac the first one out by 2 points. Hunter Peach a little bit further back. Dustin Hall 1 point further back, and as you mentioned, Kevin, Josh Arnold, the one on the outside looking in, going to have to find a way to make up a 12-point deficit already. But with all the stage points up for grabs and all the racing that's ahead of us still, there is more than enough time for him to do so. It should be interesting to see how it goes. Again, 2 stages in tonight's event, and they are going to be ending on stage 20 or lap 20 and lap 50, which should set us up for an exciting stint to finish out the race as well. And they're coming through the carousel. Kev, any last thoughts before we get going? Green flag.
If I had to throw out a quick prediction who I think has the best chance of finding victory lane, I think it's going to be the time Josh Gaiman finally finds his victory at a road course here. He's been very good, but very struggling to find victory lane, whether it be A squared or HTL, to find victory at a road course. So I'm going to call my shot. He's going to be the one that finds victory lane and locks himself into the Final Four in a couple weeks' time.
I think I got to go with Yahir Rodriguez. I think he's got an incredibly fast car. This is what he's here to do. He excels at the road courses. He's going to have to fight with the drivers looking for championships, but I think he's going to play spoiler tonight.
That indeed. We'll see if our predictions hold up. Obviously, you have a bit of better of a track record than mine the past couple weeks, but obviously things can always get shaked up. Pace car going to get on ready and take the lonesome trip down pit lane. Will be on control of green. The other restart will be on the leader's digression. As they enter the restart zone, green flag is out, and we're underway in the HTL 300 at New York. car spinning in the back there. Puff of smoke. It's the number 57, a Lily Frazier, that's currently stopped. Luckily, it looks like single car, but back end a little bit damaged. Other than that, though, every other car still all pointing in the right direction. So other than losing a lot of time, Frazier looks relatively unscathed. Back to the front we go. Still the iHero Rodriguez show, but Wygant and Sosi rounding out the top 3 here as they head off to the last couple corners here.
Yeah, I remember first stage is only 20 laps, so they should, I think, be able to make it on fuel. I'm not positive about that, but I think they should be okay. Depends on how long they can make that 12-gallon fuel cell last. But across the line for now, Rodriguez leads. I think a lot of these guys and girls are going to be trying to save tires. That was Caleb Carter way in the background that smacked the wall in the last corner you saw at the very tippy top of your screen.
Yep, smacking the wall indeed. These drivers do not have fast repairs around this track. That no other track on this calendar will have a fast repair, only reserved for the super speedways. So they'll have to make sure they keep their cars competitively clean if they want any chance at finding victory or success. As Yahir still keeping the gap honest with Pacey Wygant there in second. Gap maintaining about a 7/10 advantage, but right now Yahir looks very strong. But right there you see some particles of grass cut up as Yahir trying to find that time in the dogleg. But right there, Lil Xer goes way too aggressively wide. She's going to have to mow the grass there, and she's going to lose a spot to Eli Sasic. Oh, big lick in the back there. Frazier just T-bone Mongold.
Oh, Fraser, who found herself backwards just a moment ago, even worse now, and Austin Mongold for sympathy in there. What happened with Zira, she tried to make a dive bomb down through the bus stop and just kind of lost it on the bounce there, but these are the last 2 place cars in the field, Austin Mongold and Lily Fraser, who we saw spin out a lap ago. Mongold loses it at the top of the S's and is going to be unsighted here. And Lily Fraser, I mean,
yeah,
she kind of just didn't slow down, I don't think. But we'll have another look at it here and see with her onboard. Of course, it's over a hill, but of course she's going to be frustrated because she just got involved in an incident in the first lap, lost a lot of lap time, lost a lot of momentum. You can see up at the top there is Mongold, and as he gets to the top of the S's here, the car just unloads on him. Well, listen in here. You can see the wreck now. She just didn't stop.
He didn't stop. I will say you didn't see the car until probably right when she's 100 feet away. But when you see smoke, you gotta kind of lift at least a little bit.
Not much to lose, honestly, being the last car in line, knowing a stage break was coming. I don't know. That's an interesting one for sure. But she's one of the younger drivers. She's got a lot to learn. So we're all guilty of making moves like that, so it is what it is. But yeah, interesting indeed. Unfortunate for Mongold, especially there, who was doing the best he could. He was in a really precarious position, unfortunately. Both their days are going to be over before they even get started.
And that's a shame to see for both drivers. Had some good runs past these, but obviously still 3 rounds to go after this, so no reason to
teammates
really
too, if I'm not mistaken. Or affiliates, but
yeah, affiliates, because yeah, one's Ascent, the other one is another team. Don't remember off the top of my head, but they're both at least affiliated in some capacity. But still, Yahir leading the way, set the purple lap the last time by. Wygant with some good times, but it's getting pretty racy there for third as Sosi's got around Hunter Peach and is now trying to hang on to third position. Gaiman and Height also in that little train as well. All pretty much queued up here, try to make moves. Right there, Sosi gets a little bit wide. Peach has a chance on the carousel here. He just can't get a fender in there. So right now, Sosi showing a little bit of weakness here, and Peach looking to capitalize.
Yeah, we were talking about Hunter Peach, a bit of a slow start in his qualifying session, put down a great lap to get himself inside the top 5, and here he is scrapping about like we expected him to be. So better late than never to get the speed up, but that 20 car is looking mighty fast today and hounded down the back bumper of the reigning champion. So, yeah, they're all under a blanket right here, but I don't suspect that any of them are going to be super, super aggressive because they all know that if they sit where they are, they're going to get points, but they're going to be squabbling about who gets the most points right now. Katie Height makes her way by pretty nicely through T1. You saw Hunter Peach didn't make a huge fight about that either, so I think they're all in the give and take stage right now, Kevin, but some great racing nonetheless.
Yeah, they're content, I think, to a point, and there's no reason to fight this or on lap 5, considering the stage ends at lap 20. But you do got to know when some of these drivers that have gaps like Sosi, big gap, 19 points above the line, doesn't need to fight as hard, but looking at some drivers like Peach, 6 behind the line right now, could easily use a good point, and Josh Gaiman curling the last driver in, 2 above the line, making moves and getting that extra 1 or 2 points could make a difference between having to finish maybe P5 at the cutoff line instead of P7 at Bristol. So there is that incentive to make things happen here. But up front, Wydget with a good run, but still about 3 tenths away. As you can see, drivers trying to find different lines heading out of the carousel.
Yeah, the other thing to keep in mind here, Kevin, is that, points racing super important for these drivers with the blue banners, but it's also worth noting tire wear is a thing too. Some of that give and take, maybe some people might see Peach say, you're close to the cut line, you shouldn't be giving up these positions. I would keep my eye on him towards the end of the stage. It seems like he's taking care of his stuff pretty nicely so far. Katie Height, who we know is usually pretty good about whispering to the tires, making some big moves, but look at this as well. Taking opportunities where they stand, Height moves herself by that 81 car, opens up an opportunity for Hunter Peach to have the preferred lane, and I think we might see Gaiman try to do the same here, side by side through the S's as they battle over P4, and they nearly make a little bit of contact here. This is going to get pretty spicy because Gaiman should have the best run of all 3 of them.
You gotta be careful because there is that risk with no fast repairs. One car in that bus stop we saw a couple weeks ago when Byron got tangled with Keselowski, and that time and penalty loss basically killed Keselowski's chance at fighting for a championship. So you gotta be careful when going through some of these twisty bits to make sure you leave enough space, because if you end up getting hooked, A, may damage your car beyond repair enough that you may not be able to compete. B, there could also be a penalty in the steward's room waiting for you. So you gotta be cautious, but also aggressive to make moves happen.
It's a chess match as much as it is a motor race, and that's what makes it so entertaining to watch week in and week out.
Yeah, it is indeed. It's definitely why people love watching the motorsport around here. So anyway, lap 6, now moving to 7. It looks like a car pitting there. That's Callie Height. She's pitting in the car 1 position, in the car 1 from P7 on track, so she's inside the top 10. We'll be interested to see what her strategy call here is.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on this because this seems incredibly early. Maybe they aren't going to be able to quite make it on fuel. We'll have a look. In her first race back since Atlanta, she's blinked out there, but I don't think that was her side. I think that might have just been a little bit of an internet issue. There she is back on track. It's a gas and go. So maybe some of these drivers might not have enough fuel to get to the end. 5 seconds of fuel makes me think maybe you could save that if you're careful, but we might see some more cars coming in for pit stops early here, Kev.
Yeah, I think that's a totally plausible idea here, because let's think about flipping the stage on its head here. If stage 2 requires a pit stop, why not pit here in stage 1, try to, at the very least, get track position for stage 2, and then use that track position to hang on and get some better points where everyone else is going to have to pit. So flipping the stage is not a bad thing. We probably will see some cars when the stage gets close to its completion doing that as well here. It worked for Lilac's here the past couple road courses, so it's overall not a bad call. But right now, considering she's still the only car to do it, it's a bit odd, maybe a bit early, but why doubt her strategy here? She's got something on her mind.
Yeah, no reason to doubt it. It's just interesting to see because she's had a nice start. She started just within the top 10, moved herself up, like you said, to P7 or so by the time she made her pit stop, made some great battles early on, got ahead of Lilac Zier after that mistake that Zier made in the bus stop. So she's giving up an awfully good bit of track position here, but I think she's thinking long game. And remember, again, she doesn't have to worry about stage points. She's not in the championship hunt. None of that really matters to her. So 2nd through 7th here with those teal numbers on your ticker there, they all have to worry about that. So I think they're going to try and do everything they can to make the max amount of potential at the end of lap 20, whereas the one car can be thinking about lap 76 already. So we'll see how it plays out.
A little bit further back, Apperson got a little bit of trouble, collected Smeal and Carter, and you can see right there the heavy damage for both those cars right there. So we'll take a quick look here. Obviously, it's a little bit further back than this. Looks like they had some problems in the last couple corners. There's Apperson getting loose, trying to save it, cracks right into Smeal, then shoot down right into Carter. And that's 2 cars getting torn up quite quickly there by one slight mistake.
Yeah, that was... I'll tell you what, the front of the field's had some great stuff going on so far. That was a bit interesting. I think losing the car there, I think maybe still out of control. Probably some damage on the suspension maybe from the 4. Super unfortunate, though, for Caleb Carter, who has not caught a break ever, I think, in this league. He completely innocent bystander in that situation. But that'll probably take Apperson out. Those are some pretty heavy whacks there. And Yahir Rodriguez makes a mistake at the front of the field there. He jumps it through the bus stop, and Casey Wygant now going to try and attack on the outside through the carousel. Rare mistake from Yahir Rodriguez, but he's doing a nice job to try and defend it there.
Yeah, and that's a point where Yahir's got to kind of, it looks like they'll hang on at least for the short term here. You got to take that mistake, put it behind you, say, hey, look, I made that mistake. Can't linger on it, because we've seen some drivers self-destruct when they make one mistake. It usually goes from 1, 2 to 3 to 4, and next thing you know, they're behind the wall or spun around here. So Yahir got to keep it on the horse here, admit the mistake, but right now with Wygant filling up those mirrors, it is very hard, and I can admit that to myself too. It can be very hard when target fixation picks on in, and that double zero gets bigger and bigger. Another car taking him on the wall, the 44 of Jeremy Braille. He is done for the day along with Apperson. So we have 4 retirements in this race. Frazier, Mongol, Braille, and Apperson giving us the cars. Looks like Braille may have just pulled it off and decided to call it a night early here.
He's got some damage, though.
He does.
Trying to see if we can't take a look to see where that came from. Here we are on board. He's already had some damage. He gets very loose, overcorrects it into the wall there at the top of the S's. Same place where we saw Austin Mongold lose it, and you can see that broken suspension. That's all he needed to see for tonight. Thank you very much. He'll take his coat on the way out.
Yep, he'll take his coat, tip the waitress, and head on out the door. Yahir still leading the way, though. Wygant, I almost saw Yahir make a slight mistake at the bus stop again, so... And this kind of goes to my other point here. When you make a mistake, you wonder, was it how bad did I make a mistake? Did I miss my braking point? Was it something like the elements? Was it just something on that point? You got to try to correct it, or you got to admit, hey, I can still hit my point here and do this lap correctly, and just have to make adjustments as the run goes on. Right here, Yahir, though, still looking quite strong here. But again, it's always a bit of a scary situation when you look in that mirror and you see a car less than a half a second behind you and another one a second behind you, and just 2 strong road course drivers hanging behind. Another car in the 9 of Eli Sasek, another driver pitting inside the top 10. He will be the second car to try a splash and dash here to make it to the end of the stage here. So trying the same strategy as the 1.
Yeah, we just saw Gaiman make a nice pass on Hunter Peach there in the T1 on the inside line, so move him up a position. But it's worth also noting, Kev, this next-gen car is such a diva. It hates to do anything, honestly, and going over these curbs are so aggressive for the car. And we literally saw what happened when we cut back to it, and what's happening here. The car just bounces so violently on the suspension, the tires. They just don't cope with it like they used to with the Gen 6, Gen 5, Gen 4, all the way back. So it's just one of the characteristics of this car that make it so frustrating to drive. But Yahir seems to have at least gotten it under control for the most part. He's still giving up a lot of time in that bus stop. You also got to think maybe a part of it's just the car too. The driver can do the same thing 3 different times through that bus stop in the next generation car and have 3 totally different things happen. And that's why we see so many drivers just seemingly drop it over curbs.
Yeah, you can drop it over curbs, and the unpredictability can be something that always hurts at a road course here. First chase driver coming in this time by, it's going to be Josh Arnold. Looks like he'll be flanked by one other car here, the 99 of Elias Flores, both coming in here. So I think our hypothesis was a little bit correct here. Cars may not be able to make it to the end of the stage on 20, and just kind of hedging their bets here, trying to get a little splash and dash here. But it does make me wonder, for some of the cars that may come in later and later, at what point do you consider, all right, let's just take no stage points and let's get 4 fresh tires on this thing and stay out for stage 2?
I think that's what Josh Arnold might be thinking as well. I'm not sure if he just took fuel or if he did take tires, but I don't know. I feel like a lot of the drivers taking tires under green flag conditions is going to be helpful if you're already at the back anyway. You won't lose a lap making a pit stop if you're within relative pace of the leader, so it's effectively a free pit stop. That's why we tend to see so many drivers. We're going to see a ton of drivers probably ducking in on lap 18, lap 17, just before the pit lane closes for the stage. So they're going to be getting their tires then. Some of the drivers here, I think, thinking more strategy because they're going to be pitting at the end of the stage again anyway, but thinking that everybody's going to have to take fuel. Maybe if I take my fuel now, I'll get some clean racetrack and be able to gain some positions without having to pass people.
Yeah, that is definitely a correct call, and with the free pit stop that brings, just don't want to make sure you speed it and don't want to make sure you make a mistake.
And it's worth noting very quickly here that we saw Callie Height come in very early. The first car of anybody to pit, she just took fuel. She has overtaken the 9 of Sasek and the 2 of Arnold, or at the very least hasn't lost positions too. So I think that's what's happening there, is everybody's trying to get that pit stop out of the way and see what they can do by themselves, while some of these other drivers were trying to race it out, find some track position, and then pit. It's all kind of a strategy game there.
Noteworthy as well, Flora is the only one to take 4 tires. Everyone else taking fuel only that we saw come down pit lane here. Flores just put a little loop on it almost, so definitely trying to take those fresh tires and make it work. Top 3 still under a blanket here, and this shows you kind of the talent HTL has, as no one can really get a major separation here. Every time one car gets a tenth ahead, they pull it back up, and you have to be on your A game, or else you fall into the second groove, which consisted of Gaiman, Peach, and Sosi. But that raises the next question as well. Maybe trying to save a little bit of fuel here. Maybe try to make it to the end of the stage and try something different. Maybe flip it, possibly not. That could be maybe the net of the game for that second line of cars there.
Yeah, you can see it's Rodriguez, Wyatt, Height, then it's Gaiman, Peach, Susie, and Zier just poking into the background there. Those are the 7 drivers that are at the front of this field. You can see them all on your screen there. So they're all looking like they're going to get some solid stage points, because even if they have to pit, it's worth noting Martin Roberg and Bobby Blowers, if you have to pit as well, they're already 20 seconds behind Yahir Rodriguez. So these are very much, these 7 are the class of the field without a doubt today. They're the ones you're going to be wanting to watch until some strategy games come into play. But on raw pace, these 7 are the one right now.
Yeah, they are the ones to beat, but we've seen kind of every road course we've been to this season, the driver that's dominated the first 2 stages hasn't found their way to the checkered flag. So noteworthy as well, car that dominates usually not poised to take the flag here.
And with 6 laps to go and they cross the line this time, we are getting towards the end of stage number 1. Very long race as far as HTL standards tend to go, very close to the actual cup race distance, but it's clicking off pretty quickly with no caution flags and the short course, of course, being the NASCAR variant, the short variant, no use of the boot tonight. And I don't know, Kevin, I tend to prefer that for the stock cars. The sports cars and the open wheelers, they're great around the boot, but I feel like NASCAR and the short course just go together perfectly.
Kind of like Sonoma as well in that regard as well. It just feels like a NASCAR staple. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's no real reason to do that unless your name is Hocevar. Connor Hocevar.
Yeah, well, so far...
Carson Hocevar, not Connor. My brain blanked. I was looking at Connor Morse.
Who, by the way, is still rolling around as the youngest driver, I believe, still in, I think, in the series, currently sitting in 14th position, has made a pit stop, I believe, and is in the mix with Sasic and Arnold right now as they try to catch down on Callie Height, who is, as we mentioned, on her first race back since Atlanta.
It's getting a little race here for 9th, 8th, 9th, 10th. Robert just missed the corner here, shooting up the road here. You'll see Blowers trying to get around here. So Hall making Robert making a similar mistake to what we saw Yahir do, and now those tires a little bit cooked, just going to kind of curve out of the way here.
Yeah, as a slowdown.
Yeah, got to slow it down too. And now it's a battle between Bloberg and Flowers and Hall here. Some of the chat asking what happened to Hall. Well, Hall right now went a little bit further back here. Don't think he got in the incident, just lost time to the leaders, and right now in his own little battle here.
Yeah, still inside the top 10, should score some stage points if all things stay the way they are, but no real mistakes from the 12 that, at least from we noticed, and no damage on the car either. So just seems to maybe be on an alternate strategy, of course. I don't think he's made his pit stop yet, so no, he's not. So just giving up a lot of time on the early end here. But
well, it looks like
working his way back up.
It's interesting because I'm looking at the data for it, and Hall does have he did stop once, but on lap 0, so he started from the pit lane possibly, because considering that he has a 2-minute pit lane time and a 2-minute pit time coming in on a stop like that.
That would explain it on lap 0. It would be a start from the pit lane. Didn't see that in the notes, but maybe, I don't think it would be voluntary either, because he's definitely got the pace. But one thing's for sure, he's been moving up consistently since the drop of the green flag. So the Team Conti machine, again, with the caution flag coming out shortly, that's one of those things that isn't a total race killer. Oh, but that might be if he doesn't hang on to that one. A nice catch, but that's going to give Roberg the position back. But struggling with the car a little bit here, but he'll be back in it once the stage caution comes out, I do believe.
Looking at the reports here, he doesn't have any penalties to note of, so it must have been an actual call here, because no EOLs, no penalties. Looking back at the report, he did start from the pit lane, so can't confirm that. So right now, though, he is coming in along with Blowers to try to flip the stage, so they're both in here, and they're going to forego stage points to try to give a better chance at
And now they're into the pit lane now, so it looks like...
Yes.
So I'm curious, because the leaders are still staying out. Pit lane closes in 2 laps time, so if the leaders have saved enough, if the leaders have saved enough, they I assume would have pit by now if they hadn't, but we'll see.
Gasol just missed his box. That cost us some time. But this brings another point as well. If you do run it close, there's the penalty. If you do pit, you have to go to tail on the longest line and in turn. But obviously, everyone will pit stage 2. That's staying out. So not much time gained or lost. But there is that other concern here. I saw Yahir's mic key up here.
Yeah, he's in. And so is Wygen. So none of them can make it. It seems.
Well, Height's staying out.
Yeah,
coming in.
I would feel like that they're going to have to pit again anyway. Height was on the move. She made up a lot of positions. Hunter Peach dropped back a bit, so he may be trying to save. I wouldn't be shocked either if Lilac Zir might be trying to save, but I feel like if the leaders are coming in now, I feel like they're not going to have enough to go to the end. I feel like if they were trying to stay up for all those stage points, they would have just stayed out. So
honestly, this feels like a game move, though. He loves flipping the stage, so I'm not shocked.
True.
But the other two, it is a bit of an interesting strategy call here. I do want to point out as well, the penalty, obviously, if you do run it close on fuel and run it out, is it looks like it's fuel only for Yai
no tires for any of them.
So they are coming back in and start stage 2 to get possibly tires.
Unless they feel like they want to stay out on those tires, because we do know the next gen likes a warm, worn tire if they took care of it. So.
True, but it's interesting because Game took fuel only too, so that is, probably the case here. But right, they're going to come out in some traffic here, right ahead the 90 at Clavet. They're all currently outside the stage. Clavet right now on the track is sitting somewhere, actually P5, so this is battle for 5th, 6th, and 7th. They are still in stage points here, so the pit stop will still give them net points here. The question is how many. But to finish my point, though, the risk of obviously staying out is with the strike being so long, if you end up running out of fuel, you may have to tow, and you could lose a lap, which could be almost impossible to get back in that regard. Peach coming in along with Sosi. Now pit lane is officially closed with 2 laps to go. Height and Zir both staying out, so keep a note on this. They think they can make it 20 plus change to try to get to the end of the stage here.
Well, the admins have not closed the pit lane yet. You're right, it should have been closed by now, but we haven't seen the admins shut pit lane yet, so I'm curious to know about that.
Unless the stage is 20, but
yeah, well, that's what we were told. So, but
yeah,
many such cases, Kevin. But I'll tell you what, I'm not shocked to see the 50 of Zir stayed out. She is always a driver who tends to try these strategy calls and see how they work for her. With how much Height was pushing early on in the stage, I'm a little surprised she would have saved enough fuel, but we'll see what happens here.
And let's take another look at this as well. Sorry to cut you off, I want to say
you're
as well.
fine.
If Zir hangs on the second, she gets 9 points. Right now, Gaiman is the driver on the bubble line, who's currently sitting in P8, would get a net gain of 3. That is a 6-point swing and will put Zir in the top 4 just by a performance here. So it's not a bad call. Height's going to stay out, and she will take the white flag here to try to win this stage. Zir also not blinking, so if the stage does end this time by, they feel confident they can make it. They do have a big gap, 28 seconds to Yah here, sitting in 3rd, so they can really back it up here, but they got to make sure that one extra lap too to ensure they can make it to pit lane under the first lap under pacing.
I find that so interesting, Kevin, that more people didn't try to go for that strategy, especially drivers like Gaiman who are on the bubble. I think there's a lot of stage points there for making it to the end, and you don't, I mean, when you have an opportunity where you can save fuel, it's almost always going to be the beneficiary for you when you need to do that, because the thing is, you don't have to push the car as hard, you don't have to go as hard on the tires, you short shift, you don't have to fight so hard because you know you have that, you know, everybody that's passing you is probably going to have to pit anyway. So very interesting to see only 2 drivers manage to make it. At the top of the show, we would have thought almost everybody could have made it, and then half the field came and we thought nobody would have made it, but clearly it was possible. So it's going to work a treat for the girls here as they come around. By the way, Callie Height, who was the first one to make that pit stop, ends up losing a couple spots in the net gain there. She'll look like she'll suffer around the 10th, so she didn't get a whole lot of gain for that. No, Height's pitting.
So the stage does not end at 20? She's in. Pit lane didn't close. Zir in as well. Are they going to try to... If the stage isn't ending, are they trying to Jeff Burton this, where they cross the line and get the stage victory, then pit, take the penalty?
Would be a terrible idea, honestly, but interesting to know.
Roberg also stayed out as well, along with Clavet. Roberg said he's coming in. We're on 21. I think the stage ends at 25. I want to take a guess. I haven't seen anyone...
Take another look. Maybe we got the wrong info here, unfortunately.
Yep, so Roberg in. Yai here going to come across the line here. We'll see if anything blinks here. Both will come out, fuel only on their calls.
Unless, yeah. Well.
Peach would be car 9 here, 10, and then we assume Callie's going to be the 10th car in position. She comes across the line now, and no call. So stage is not in the 20, so
Well,
First
gang,
aid.
we're just as much
We're
of a
gonna win
guest
it.
as you are. We're spectators with you. So, yeah, apologies. No real idea what's going on with that now. Very interesting developments, but
Yep, usually our intern that gives us information has been here the past couple weeks, so overall we're kind of just feeling it in and out here, and obviously our chairwoman's been a little bit under the weather, so kind of just dealing with information.
I love esports, don't you?
Yeah, as well. It's a fine feeling. But right now, Zier going to slot out nicely. Actually, a slight net gain up to P4 here. Height gets second ahead of Wyden, so
yeah, this really hasn't hurt them because remember everybody took fuel. Nobody really took tires, so it's not like there's going to be an undercut or an overcut. It's just simply trying to find the track position or run your laps. So.
And considering that those cars that came in early were buried in traffic fighting each other, dealing with traffic around them, it allowed the opening. And right there, our intern confirms at 25, so it will end at 25. So we got a few extra laps here. So that confirms one thing. Fuel tank is Clappett now pits. The furthest you can take it if you really save seems to be 22 laps. And Roberg's had a bit of an incident here. Looks like he has crashed somewhere on the surface, or at least had a slight spin, but he's now continuing on. So Roberg, big loser in that incident. But yeah, 22 laps is the magical number on fuel to try to make it to the finish line.
Yeah, so big apologies there for the mistake. The info we got said 20, and it is 25. Here's what happened to Roberg. Again, what we talked about with the RNG curb is what I like to call it. It's always a gamble going over that thing in the next gen. He does a nice job to hang on to it, but he's going to lose a handful of time. But Roberg's not having the best day at the moment already. He's already down in 15th, and we saw him struggling a bit in those battles. But Rodriguez is currently the lion's share of the laps led, and will continue to add to that, and looks like he's pretty smooth sailing to the end of stage number 1, which is now on lap 25.
Yep. 25.
Which then also explains why so many people came into the pit lane, because we saw that they could make it to 20, but that extra little bit not quite possible. So
yeah, but then it makes you wonder. Obviously, some push long and actually shows the overcut is potent. Then it makes you wonder why some drivers really tried that early undercut to try to make that work. And in turn, only driver that took tires and fuel, and that was Flores. It's very odd indeed. Maybe Flores just had that box checked.
Well, if we look at the Callie Height situation, she was in a battle back in. She's actually, with everybody making their pit stop, she cycled back to 8th, so she's only lost one position. She was in the middle of a battle. She knew she was going to have to make a pit stop. I think she just wanted to try and give herself some clear racetrack. It didn't necessarily work, but it didn't hurt for her either. It was kind of just a net gain. So, again, with this weird situation where everybody's taking fuel and no tires, it's always, there's no real under-overcut. It's just, can you run good laps by yourself? Can you get more done if you pit early and give a clear racetrack? Some drivers do, some drivers don't. We saw Height and Zier gain because they had all that clear racetrack to deal with. Didn't have to worry about shuffling through traffic. But somebody like Height, it worked out because she pit so early and she was in the middle part of the pack that she had nobody to deal with until everybody else started pitting, and she had enough time to try and overcut those drivers that were losing time fighting each other. So it's a really weird way of racing that we're in. And there you see the pit lane now finally closing. So yeah, it's an interesting era of iRacing we're in with this whole the tires don't wear so much situation, but it's put on an interesting bit of racing. And Rodriguez, Height, and Wygant currently the top 3. Height the biggest winner in this cycle.
Yeah, it feels like we're at Bristol with how the tires are not wearing.
Yeah.
But right there you can see Zier still hand on the back of Wygant here. Again, points do matter, considering the fact, considering Zier only 2 back on Gaiman, 1 extra spot would put both her and Gaiman in a dead heat.
Yeah,
at the same point, don't want to junk the car for 1 extra point.
Yeah, I take that back. I said that Height was the biggest winner. No, Zero is the biggest winner in this. She was sitting about 6th or 7th place. She's moved herself up to 3rd, or 4th, almost 3rd, fighting for 3rd, could possibly get it. With that staying out long strategy, getting that clean air, because she's not, she gets a little sideways through there, but precisely because she's not in that situation where she is now. She's not in a situation where she's battling with somebody for several laps that allowed her to pass basically everybody in her rearview mirror there on the racetrack rather than in the pit lane. So, or vice versa, rather, through the pit stops rather than on the racetrack. But we'll see with the final lap of stage number 1 how this one's going to shake out.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how it all shakes out indeed. Yeah, I hear hang on. Obviously a 2.5 second gap should be poised, but you can do a little battle shaking up. Zier, Wygant, our main one we're focusing on. Gaiman and Sosi, about a second separates them. And then lastly, you got Height and Sasek right now battling. Height just got around Sasek, So 3 major battles here inside the top 10, all for points. Zier getting a good run here, going to the bus stop. How aggressive will she be? They'll be side by
she
side.
goes for it.
Heading off from here, aggressive, a little dooring there, but overall still clean. But Zier not going to make the corner. Going to have to
get a
cut it through the
slowdown
crowd.
too.
Yeah, and that may cost her a spot to game it, and this is where the risk comes in. Because, well, this looks like she got majorly slowed up. Apologies on the radio. And you can see, though, looks like the slowdown didn't affect her. Looks like she'll still stay ahead of game.
Yeah, she's trying to bleed it actively, I think. She's trying not to just pull over because she can hang on to that position. It's going to be a treat for her here. So Rodriguez is going to come around. He will take the stage win. That is... Oh, the caution's out early. That's right. They throw it a bit earlier here so they don't have to do the whole lap behind the pace car. So Rodriguez will get the position. Then it's Height in second, Wygant third, and Zier, I think because of how that caution flew, she now gets to dump her... her slowdown under the caution, so I think she might have known that was coming and stayed out there. But then it's Game and Susie Peach. Height, I think, did get ahead of Sasek, so she does end up getting 8th place. And then it's Sasek and Josh Arnold. Critically, it's worth noting, does get the final stage point, so he will actually gain a little bit on, I think it's just Dustin Hall, who was the only chaser to not get any points in that stage. He is, so.
Yeah, he's the only one, so 8 out of 10 will get the job done. Yep, and Hall obviously got 13, so considering, again, doing some quick math here, Hall overall with 7 back, that is going to at least put him in a bigger hole in comparison to the cars around him.
Just take us another look at this if we can. A crazy, crazy move on the inside. I respect it. We don't tend to see Lilac Zier make bold moves like this, and she knows that where she's at in the championship, it's imperative that she tries things like this. It didn't work out, but they didn't total each other. Look at this move, Kevin. Big dive to the inside. Both the brake discs glowing. She gets on the curb. Wygant trying to give room. They leave each other enough room, all things considered, but they do get a bit argy-bargy there, but that is good racing, honestly. She tried the move. It didn't work out. She yielded. Nobody wrecked. That's 2 very talented race car drivers having a great little battle.
Yeah, having a great battle there. Something would be fun to see for the win, but I think at that point, if they were fighting for the win, I think there'd be a little
Somebody be backwards, yeah.
Yeah, someone wouldn't be giving as much space. Zier obviously left a lot of space there. Going to the bus stop, she would be hanging on the door of Wygant if they were fighting for the win there, or at least for coming to the line. But you can see right there, Caitlin Height, highest of the playoff drivers, but Yahir Rodriguez, the driver that wins stage number 1. So our pole sitter takes the first stage, leads 21 of 25 laps. Overall, a good start to stage number 1 for the 95 Ascent Racing Machine. Papaya Orange.
Whoa.
Look at the 3 staying out, along with the 8 of Smeal, the 12 of
33
Hall,
Cayman.
and the 90 of Dean Clavitt, all staying out along with the 33 Gaiman. So 5 cars going to stay out here, meaning Yahir at the least is going to come down. Actually, 4 cars, Height, Gaiman, Hall, Clavitt. So Yahir is going to be 5th or lower here, depending on what strategy call is done.
That's a big move. Let's see if any of these leaders take tires. We know that a lot of them prefer, like we mentioned, to stay on, but we see Zier taking tires. Looks like everybody who's pitting here taking tires. So Height, Gaiman, Hall, Clavitt all thinking that they can make it go. Was that a 2-tire pit stop? It was a 2-tire stop on a road course of all places for Hunter, Peach, and the 2 of Josh Arnold. Interesting. It's not unheard of because of how many corners go right hand around here, but gosh, I can't imagine. I don't know. I don't think I've ever taken 2 tires on a road course. I never believed in it, but stranger things have happened.
I've seen it, but I think there's points where it's weird because I've seen 4 tires or no tires, but there have been some drivers that have elected to go for 2. It's just an odd call in some regards. Just because you either want the full tire or half tire, because you get to fill the tank up anyway. It's just an odd call all around.
Well, the short tanks here, of course, and they all came in to pit for fuel under green, so most of them were just doing top-ups. But now we have an incredible scenario unfolding where we're having a road course race for NASCAR where we have drivers on no tires, we have drivers on 4 tires, and now, interestingly, we have a handful of drivers on 2. We'll see how it works for them. If there's ever a racetrack where you would ever make it work, this is about the only place where it could. But I just feel like the way it throws the balance off, that is a bold strategy to make.
It is a bold one, but hey, fortune favors the bold. Speaking of, looking at the chat real fast, Blake, maybe not too thrilled I called him an intern, but he brings us the stats and he brings us the coffee. So overall, even though maybe the owner signs the checks, great guy, but he also decides on the stats like an intern. So overall, he could qualify as a lot of things at the very least here. Just want to put that on record. So, great guy. Hope to see Blake out here, hopefully before season's end, or at least we can hear from him before season ends.
Yeah, he's got to put together an old like Windows 2000 Dell laptop or something at this point so that we can at least communicate with our buddy. Of course, his computer taking a horrible turn for the worse. That's why he's not piloting that number 25 car. We're seeing Hunter Peach coming back into the pit lane now.
Arnold, Blowers,
yeah, so
being sassy.
I'm wondering if maybe everybody taking some of them just took 2 tires, so I'm curious why they come back in, maybe topping up to try and go the distance, but...
Yeah, I'll throw out a math problem here. Considering the stage ends at 50, and you don't have to go the full 50, we saw Dean Clavitt push it to 22 laps at the absolute max if you're really lifting and saving and lifting and saving.
I guess my confusion...
29 is 21. You come in and top off, you can make it to the end of the stage.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I wonder why drivers who took 2 tires are coming in to do that and not putting the other 2 tires on. It's
yeah, that's weird.
It's a bold strategy.
Yeah, you would take 4. I mean,
yeah.
you would have taken 4
You would have taken the other 2 if you went, oh, wait, maybe we can make it. You'd come in and take the left sides now, or the right sides now, but I guess...
Maybe they're thinking time loss because they took 2 tires to get that little extra track and now want to top off, so they don't want to lose more time.
Yeah, but you're already going to be tail end, and there's only 20 cars, so it's not like you're not going to make it back around to the pace car. They've already caught back up before the bus stop, so I don't know. They know something we don't, Kevin, and that's why I'm in the booth tonight, but I can't imagine any reason why they wouldn't have taken the other 2 tires other than just maybe a panic, but we'll see. Maybe there's some strategy to that. Maybe the tires are gonna wear the way they want them to. There's always a reason, but maybe not always the best one, but we'll find out in a handful of laps from now at the end of stage 2. Maybe they'll make me eat my hat, but strange indeed.
Strange indeed. Looks like some cars trying to rush here. Should make it, at least Morse will make it. I don't know if Smeal will. It's going to be a mad dash. You're going to have to haul everything to get there. But maybe that's for the best here at the very least. Control will be on the 3 of Caitlin Height, as she obviously was the lead car. So it will be Lady Liberty, Valkyrie locking up row 1. And it'll be Hall, Clavitt row 2, Roberg Rodriguez row 3, Wygen 04. Flores Height, your first 5 rows here as the pace car gets ready and takes the lonesome trip down pit lane on the NordVPN car's control here. Green flag is out and stage 2 is underway. Looking at 20 laps to go here to start the stage. And look at Wygen and Yah here already on the aggressive 3 wide heading off into 1.
Yeah, that's the fresh tires that it's not going to work. Gaiman goes around. Zier just barely escapes from that without melee. Gaiman the big loser there, but that was fresh tires versus no tires versus 2 tires. And it all comes crashing down for Josh Gaiman, and that's unfortunate for him because that's about the story of his season. We'll take a quick look at it here by the time they get to the bus stop, but you can see Rodriguez in the middle. I don't know if Gaiman even quite knew that they were 3 wide. He's not entitled to yield and give more room, but when you don't do that, that tends to be what happens. But like I said, I don't think he even knew that they were 3 wide. Now Wygen's gone off in the bus stop.
Yeah, Wygen went deep in the bus stop there, had to come back here, and obviously only one word on radio key for Gaiman there, expected. So had a clue that was probably going to happen there, and well, he ended up the big loser here, and now considering he's now 17th, about give or take a good chunk of the way behind, not too far away, but he's going to have to haul to get back inside the top. Gonna get stage points, Clavitt a little loose, but he will save it, and he will lose a couple of spots, but won't hit anything. Now he is now in 10th position.
Yeah.
Ooh, Nahir just got in the grass too there and had to save it too. So driver's really pushing.
Yeah, Zier and Gaiman, the biggest losers on that deal. Rodriguez falling down as well. So I don't know. I mean, that's Watkins Glen T1, I suppose. But like I said, it felt like that was an inevitability with all the different tires, and Yahir nearly smacks the wall there through the S's. He's gonna be hanging on to that thing all the way down the backstretch, but you can see him wiggling the car around. Maybe he did catch the wall, trying to test to make sure the balance and the alignment's okay, but he's starting to show some cracks in the armor here now that he's lost the lead. It was such a commanding first stage, but struggling to get back on the horse here in stage 2.
Yeah, I was trying to struggle indeed to get back on it, but still at the very least, though, doing an all right job. Where it's smooth sailing is number 3 right now, who's got some good sailing up front here. And she's got no pressure behind, but Hall keeping it honest here. Looking in the far shot there, no real chaos here, but cars overall is fighting, trying to get spots here, but looking a little bit further back here. Why'd you try to make a move on Roberg here? Seeing the move, he made the mistake there, trying to really capitalize back and get that spot.
Yeah, I can see Rodriguez having a look at Hall, going to think better of it. But remember, a lot of these drivers on the fresh tires, it's going to take them a while for the heats to get up to where they need to be. They'll have that initial grip off the launch, but they're going to be struggling for a little bit while they wait for those Goodyear Eagles to get into temperature. So we see all those drivers that stayed out gaining some time now, but give it a little bit and we'll see those cars with fresh tires, in theory, should start to reel in the field. But yeah, Kevin, it's such an interesting thing to see that the 0 tires, 31 lap old tires, are currently faster than fresh stickers.
Yeah, they are faster. And this is information that will go in the bank to be ready. Look at Zier trying to, I think, make a move there. Oh! But right there,
wow.
while we were watching that, yeah,
It
cars
is Zier.
Fighting here. That was the move Zier, I think, was trying to make on
Oh, wow, they're
Flores
sliding off everywhere, Kevin.
as well. Gets a little loose here. We'll hope we can get a look at that, but I think Zier may have tried to make a similar move. The Wygent question is, what exactly happened here? So looking at Zier, getting a run similar to what she had on Wygent, going into the bus stop.
Same thing, yeah, they just come to blows. They're very lucky the way they shot off the track. Now watch here at the bottom of your screen, you're going to see another car. Well, you heard it there, the 74 car comes sliding in too. I think that was Connor Morse. So all kinds of calamity going on here on the second stage. It's starting off with a bang.
Yeah, it's starting off with a bang up front. The Wygent making a move on the 1.
Yeah, well,
Now trying to make a move on Peach.
Yeah, we saw that Wygent lost a lot of time because he just went through the bus stop ahead of the Zier situation and very nearly cleaned out Martin Roberg. And he's quite lucky he didn't, because he would have never heard the end of it on Twitter if he did. But Wygent losing some time there, getting back around Callie Height, though, who, it must be noted, Callie Height having a nice little race so far, sitting in P7. This is where she had her previous best finish of her career last time out at Watkins Glen, so not surprising to see, but great to see her having a nice little race so far. And she's made a lot less mistakes than some of the drivers in front of her so far. So see Hunter Peach back in the fight, though, as well, in that number 20 car. Remember, I'm pretty sure he pit again at the end of the last caution, and he's already found himself up into P5, even though he made another trip down pit lane. So
yeah, worth noting as well, obviously sometimes the best strategy at road course is just survive the chaos, and you can usually gain a couple spots when other drivers make mistakes.
Absolutely.
Right, getting a decent run there, but Peach going to cover it off. I think they both kind of see the eye on the prize. They want to make a move on that Roberg machine. Right now, you can see Wygent going to have his choice. The litter, Peach can't cover it off. The question is, will Roberg try to make a defensive move here? Well, he can't even do it. Wygent going to prove the brakes on that 00. Very confident, and he will clear the 97s. It just shows you sometimes even when you think you're safe, you're not. Now Peach going to try to follow the move the 00 just did.
yeah, that's what we talked about earlier, waiting for opportunities to happen. Look, Callie Height going to stick her nose in here on Roberg as well. Roberg's going to lose 3 positions in one sector, all because of a bold move that caught him off guard by the 00. That was a lunge and a half from Pacey Wygent, but made it work. And you see Height is going to get that position with a little blink as well through on Roberg. So Roberg might lose a 4th position here to teammate Eli Sasek. He will. So 4 positions in about a mile and a half. That is not what you want to see if you're a Martin Roberg fan.
Yeah, you do not want to see that, and it just shows sometimes when you get caught in a bad line, or since these road courses are very momentum-based, you get pinned in a bad spot or get in a bad corner exit, it can really throw off the rest of your lap there and in turn leave you vulnerable for the cars that have been running it relatively cleanly in turn. Obviously not anything changing up in the top 2-3 spots here, but Yair Rodriguez has slowly cut down that gap. Is now 2/10, just set a purple sector 1, and is now on the back of the number 3 here. So I think we're going to have a battle for the lead here in about, give or take, a lap's time. Right now, Height trying to hang on, but Yair flexing their muscle, showing why they have done the masterclass of tonight so far.
Absolutely. Rodriguez has been incredibly quick, had a little bit of a composure shuffle there on the restart, but seems to have gotten it back under control and is back underway. And for those that were worried about Dustin Hall, in the last stage was the only driver in the chase to not score stage points. He now sits 3rd, so he's made good on that. Of course, he stayed out on those old tires. Yair Rodriguez looking like he's going to go scooting on by Katie Height now on those fresh tires. This is what we're starting to expect more out of those the pit cycle swap over there. So Rodriguez will make his way by. And Height will tuck back in P2. It's amazing, though. Look at the gap that Height has opened up, and especially if some of these drivers are trying to see if they can make it to the end of the stage. She's, even on those older tires, her and Dustin Hall have opened up an incredible gap, and it would have worked a treat for Gaiman, too, if he hadn't got turned in turn 1 there on the restart.
Yeah, it is indeed. And again, it shows you the speed the 3 had to have to hang ahead 97 in turn. Also show that Yahir had to drive that down to keep the pressure going. So overall, it benefited both cars, even though Height ended up losing the lead to that number 95 machine. Back to P3 battle, P4, I should say, is Hall's technically in third. And you can see where they started. Some of the bigger movers, obviously that one machine up 12 spots, Roberg up from 16th, Clavitt from 19th to 10th. So some of their big movers there moving up 6, 8, and 9 spots respectively in Cali, making that strategy work. But look at that, Sass is going to have a little shove there to the 1, saying, hey, I'm going to make a move here to the bus stop. I don't think you can stop it. And right there, Sass is now up to 6, Height now down to 7th.
Oh, but Sasek blows it just a little bit through there. Roberg a bit slow through there as well. Both the Ascent cars overshooting the second portion. Roberg going to lose another spot now to Gaiman, who is on a great comeback drive, it must be said, after getting turned in turn number 1. He now finds himself back inside the points for stage 2, and Clavitt, who had a big moment as well, making his way to try and knock on the door of the 97. But yeah, Cali Height did not get the best run up the S's that time. That's what allowed that massive amount of overspeed from Eli Sasek. Sasek looks like he's on a mission, but he needs to take care of those Goodyear Eagles, because you can see he's a bit all over the track too. Height may have a chance to come back. She will. We'll see how this goes down into turn 1. Same thing that Cali just did up in the top of the S's. Eli did in the final corner, but Eli's going to outbrake a little bit. He should be able to hang on, but they're going to be side by side once again.
It will be side by side again here. The one not going away. Car obviously made popular by Gibney, obviously now piloted by Cali Height here. As usually she drives 3, but obviously a bit of a ride switch around that team. But look at Gaiman. He had that incident lap 1 of stage 2, and he's now gotten it back up to 7th, so not letting that adversity hurt him here, as he's now climbed his way back into 7th, going to try to get back in the top 10 before this stage ends.
Roberg gets a little bit of revenge, but he goes deep again into the bus stop, and he's going to once again be under attack. Roberg's missed the bus stop 3 laps in a row now, finally got the position back on Cali when she had an optimal line, but now has to give it right back and might have a slowdown to boot, but I don't know if he's going to get it this time. But Cali hanging in there, getting her fangs out and keeping the fight going. She's well within the top 10. Lilac Zier starting to claw her way back as well. And that was Bobby Blowers in the background, who may have just smacked the retaining wall. He will hang on to it, but he loses a ton of time. But a good save for Blowers nonetheless.
Yeah, good save. Hard to do that sometimes. When you don't hit anything, it's sometimes a positive in and out of the situation. There you can see now some spacing happening up here, but Gaiman wants that spot and try to go long way around on Sasek. Sasek going defensive.
Sasek got loose in the last corner, so
over under.
Yeah, and he tried to hang on, but he's not going to be able to. Wow, Josh Gaiman on those old tires, proving why he has a teal banner right now. He's raced his way all the way through this field after getting turned on the first lap of stage 2. He's hungry. He's already almost to the back of Pacey Wygen. He's almost back within the top 5. So for a man that was on the outside looking in, coming into this round, he is absolutely not going to be denied a great effort here, but he's going to have to be careful to not go through his tires. I think that's what's happening to Eli Sasek here. He has been sliding around quite a bit. I think he's got his temperatures out of whack, and that's why you've been seeing him sliding all over the place. I'd say similar situation for Roberg, because he continues to hemorrhage time. Dean Clavitt has found his way by, and now Lilac Zier knocking on the back door of the Ascent machine as well. And there's Josh Susi, who we haven't said a whole lot about lately. He has had a quiet day. He is just outside the top 10 right now.
And this is where it gets interesting, as we see right now Dustin Hall pit. He was one of the 2 cars that stayed out along with Caitlin Height under the caution. Hall in. So that raises first question. Obviously, my point was going to be Hall, Gaiman, and Height are all going to have to eventually pit and try to make a net gain. But then you got to remember the cars that came in and topped off at the end of stage number 2 there. You're looking at the likes of Sosi, you're looking at Flowers that came in at 27. You're looking at Arnold that came in and got that extra top off, including Eli Sasek, who's in P5. And we looked at the numbers, 21 was the range you come to the flag on 2021. So there is a chance that those cars that came in at top off have that better chance to hit that number. Well, you can see right now, it looks like Hunter Peach, big mistake though, and now he's back. So Hunter Peach fell for the order, had a little bit of a lag spike, thought he spun. But to finish my point, fuel is a concern here, and some of these cars could try to stretch it to get some net positives here.
Yeah, absolutely. You see here, as they stand up in the front. Wow, Callie Height nearly caught the guard railing there out of the carousel. She went through the grass. Those of you that also race this track on iRacing, you know how far out of the racetrack that is. She is wheeling that #1 machine. But yeah, Eli Sasek, you can see he is really struggling to cope with those front tires. They are not responding right now to him, which is interesting, Kevin, because we usually see the rears go before anything else, but you can see how much that 9 car is dump trucking. Callie Height is actually going to make a move on the 00 Wygen. So despite that unorthodox line, she's going to get another position. Callie Height almost inside the top 5 right now. This is an incredible run for her.
Yeah, she's having a great run here, and overall just showing why she's definitely strong at the road courses. That seems to be her bread and butter, working the ovals, and with this being the last one, she's trying to really make it count.
You can see Gaiman is caught up to Hunter Peach now, so he is found and dispatched almost everybody and is now almost back on the podium, back to where he started, back to where he was when he got punted off the track in T1.
Yeah, indeed, really up there, but again, has to make a pit stop, cannot make it presumably to the end of the stage. We'll try to flip it, so overall, if he can make a net gain here and get that true extra time, well, it's going to be easier when he pits to make up more time.
And he is through, at least side by side now, and Peach lets him go.
In this time, bit of a lockup to try to speed down here.
Oh.
Let him go, and in he will fly, so couldn't hang on to that corner and keep the spot, but he is now in, so he'll be the 2 of the 3 that did stay out. Obviously, Clavet
now too, yeah.
Well. That just means Caitlin Height, probably the last one that surely has to pit. The rest, in theory, could make it, maybe has to save a little bit. We'll have to see the numbers, but Height going to be the last that confirmedly has to pit before we see the stage end at 50.
I would think that's what Wygen's doing. We've seen how fast Pacey has been so far, and he's given up an awful lot of time to the leaders. He still put up some good fighting. He's currently in a what seems like a generational battle with Callie Height. They have not been able to get away from each other for a couple of laps now, but I feel like Pacey's giving up quite a bit of time and saving fuel to try and see if he can't make it, or at the very least only have to do a splash and go. Because keep in mind here, Katie Height and Yahir Rodriguez are 15 seconds clear of the field at the moment, and if they both have to pit, they'll still come out round about the top 10 once everybody cycles out, I'd say. So that's what we saw at the end of the first stage too, so it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see how these strategies play out. Like I said in the pre-race, strategies do ring true around this track. We'll even see it in the final stage. As you can see, Sasek dealing with a little looser again here, just trying to rip that car for 3rd place here.
Yeah, that poor thing.
Caitlin Height in, so she officially pits. She will give up seconds on this is a battle for P2.
Yeah, that poor 9 car is like a shopping cart with a loose wheel. It's pushing tight, it's pushing loose. He's sliding 4-wheel slides. The thing looks like the 2014 Ferrari. It is just, it's not doing anything right now. That poor car is all over the place. He's doing a great job of wheeling it, though. He's keeping it competitive. He's keeping it up in a good position. And he was right up there with Hunter Peach. And it looks like there's going to be a Pacey Wygen and Height reigniting here as they make their way through. Usually we see Katie Height fighting with Pacey Wygen. It's Callie today, and Wygen's going to go sideways and nearly around. He's off in the dirt, so he shouldn't get hit, but he's going to lose a ton of time. Again, the RNG curve just not in his favor. The car bounces wrong, and around he goes. Not a whole lot he can do about it, but he did a good job not to spin around and not hit anything. He'll fall to 8th, though, and that will give Callie Height some more breathing room.
Yeah, that will give him breathing room, like you said. Now, again, Wygen got a lot to work to do to make it for that time. The RNG curve ended up hurting him on. See again, Peach. It's interesting because Yahir right now, with that big gap, could really save it because 17 seconds, but Sasek obviously eyes the prize for second here. Gonna send it again. Can he make that loose shopping cart hold here? He can, but we saw Gaiman do the over-under. Peach gonna try it as well, but just can't get the full runoff he needs. So Sasek finally wins the war of nutrition. He will get second. Peach now under pressure from Height in 3rd, and they've pulled about a second gap away from Zier in 5th. So 2nd, 3rd, 4th under this blanket here, about 18 away from Rodriguez, our current race leader.
Yeah, you're right. We were talking about where Rodriguez would come out if he pit. He could probably just try and really aggressively save fuel and still make it at this point. He has all that time in the bag. Right now, this is the battle for P2. If Rodriguez would pit, these guys would be the leaders, but we're not expecting Rodriguez to pit, at least not unless everybody else is pitting. It's not like he's on an opposite strategy, so Very interesting how this is all transpired. And I'll tell you what, it might not have been the best for these three on screen. Honestly, these 6 cars we see on screen, it might not have been the best for them trying to catch the leader, but there's been some great battles through this second stage.
There have been great battles, drivers fighting for everything they have. It may not be the lead, but every spot matters, every position matters, and you can see Peach trying it again here, just got a little loose, and that's going to allow the one of Callie Height to take over 3rd position. So now, again, in her first race back, she is now up to 3rd. Looks like Clav's had a little bit of trouble. He's now in a pit lane again here, so it's gone from bad to worse for the Canadian as he is kind of sitting there right now, just wondering what's gone wrong.
See if we can't have a look and see what's happened there. It seems like there's a little bit of damage, so he might have found the wall. I think he's brought it to pit lane under his own power, but it seems like he's caught the wall on the left-hand side somewhere, possibly up through the S's, and he brought it in for repairs. So unfortunately, not sure what happened to give him that damage, but he brought the car under the pit lane under his own power. Unfortunately for him, that might be the end of his day. Hunter Peach has had another lag spike there, but he's hanging on in 4th place. But Callie Height on the podium currently.
Yeah. Good drive by her right now. She's making that work. Race leader Yahir Rodriguez is in, pitting now, so will not try to stay out here and try to net game. We saw obviously it work out, but that will be, considering the length of a pit stop here, it's going to be long enough that that lead will be lost, and they will not win stage 2.
Let's illustrate this gap here because we're still there. We just now see Sasek peek around the corner. He had that big of a gap on the field in just about 20 laps time.
Yep, and you'll see right now another car coming in is Pacey Wygent in again too. So Wygent in along with Yahir Rodriguez, and look at the moment Yahir going to take fuel only is away. They will go P7 is where they'll slot out just ahead of Josh Arnold, and that will be doing some quick math here. About 6 seconds to get to Sosi and about 7 to 8 to get to our current race leader, Eli Sasek.
Yeah, he didn't even fall out of the top 10. He barely even fell out of the top 5. So Rodriguez absolutely putting a spanking on the field here in stage number 2. We still, considering he's made a pit stop, I'm wondering, Kevin, we might see everybody else come back down pit lane once again. But there were those 3 or 4 stragglers that stayed out, or didn't stay out, rather, made an extra pit stop and may be able to make it on fuel. We'll see. I would be interested to see what somebody like Lilac Zier is cooking up here, because she tends to do that with the strategies. Maybe Susie as well, because Susie's been, I don't want to say slow, but he hasn't been Josh Susie pace so far tonight. I wonder if he's been doing some strategy games as well.
I think, honestly, I think most of the drivers in the top 6, you could generally say maybe trying to push. I think maybe half of them are going to try to go to lap 50 here, considering, again, Sasek was part of the crew that came in and topped off along with Lilac Zier. So 1 extra lap, little extra fuel can help and maybe make that fuel run manageable. Because, again, to note, we saw Height and we saw Zier make it 20 laps. We saw Clev make it 22, and we saw the other car in between, Nick Dustin Hall, make it 21. So overall, you can make it those laps as high. The one machine
both
just nailed that wall.
No, Height missed the wall. Sasek hit it, but Height almost spun the car trying not to hit it. So they both lose a ton. Look at this. Peach is hunting them down now. They both lost a lot of time that time around. Both of them lucky not to make a bad situation worse, but Eli Sasek clearly still struggling with the handling on that number 9 car. And Callie Height getting a little hungry, sees an opportunity to lead an HTL race. I don't think she's going to want to let that one go too easily here. That's the first real mistake we've seen her make.
And especially, you don't get the lead races often, you don't get the win stages often, you don't even get the win races often, especially with the talent of HTL. You want to make it happen. Sasek in, so he will not be one of the 6 that will elect to stay out ahead of Yahir Rodriguez. He will be coming in, and that will promote the 1 now to the lead. When it comes across the line, she will usher in 5 laps to go in the stage here, as there'll be a mad dash. Question is, can anyone make it? But considering she is still pulling out wicked lap times in comparison to the cars around her, for reference point, she just ran a 1:13.5. Last time before, she ran a 1:13, like a 1:13.1. And Peach, Zier, and the rest are running high 13s, even low 14s. So they are trying to maybe hit a better number here. Height really pushing.
And oh, by the way, I hear Rodriguez only 7 seconds off of the pack after making a pit stop. So there he is in the background. That is unbelievable pace.
Gained.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 seconds gained.
But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be really interesting, of course. We have a handful of laps to go, so we're only going to find out in a few minutes' time. But we'll be curious to see if anybody does try to make it. I believe Hunter Peach is the only one who could. but I don't know for sure. We'll find out. Roberg's still hanging around as well. Roberg's gained quite a bit of time back after losing a lot of time and making a couple of mistakes early on in stage 2, similar to what we saw from Rodriguez, actually. They both made some mistakes early on and got back on the horse, but we'll see if anybody comes by this time around. Looks like Height stays out another lap. Looks like all 4 of the leaders will stay out another lap. Everybody stays out another lap here. So if they are going to pit, it's going to be right up on that window so they can eliminate the pit stop at the end of the stage.
Yeah, let's do some quick math breakdown. I know, favorite segment. Let's break down the math here. We saw Yahir come in with an 18-second gap and came about 9 seconds back when he came in and topped off for a 6-second fuel run. So that gives you about a range of about 28, we'll call it 28 seconds just in case mistakes and whatnot. 28 seconds. If your car right now in this top 5 and you pit, you're going to cycle presumably right around Josh Gaiman, currently sitting in 10th, maybe Eli Sassick in 11th. Obviously a better comparison. He's even further back because he just came in. So you're not going to get stage points if you elect to pit here. Presumably you're going to be fighting for stage points or you're going to lose stage points. So they're right now, obviously for Height and for Roberg, there's no real crime here because they're just here for the fun of it. But for drivers like Peach, Zier, Sosi, if you pit, you're basically conceding stage points, but maybe going to gain track position for the final stage here and try to get that extra spot by flipping the stage on its head. But you forego any points, so there is that risk reward. Looking at Josh Arnold, currently the highest of the
Height looks like she's pitting.
That came in and pit, and yep, Height in. So Height will pit, and that will hand lead over Peach along with the Roberg machine. So both non-playoff drivers in, but the other 3 electing to stay out.
Which makes sense because they don't have to worry about the points like you just mentioned. They're just here to try to win races. These drivers up front can't really afford to give up that track position, but also keep in mind, Peach and Susie came in to top off on that last lap, which said that they should be able to make it to the end if they saved. We saw Susie wasn't overwhelmingly fast this stage. Peach was a little slow to get started as well, so not surprising to see if they can make it to the end. And Zier, of course, tends to play strategy games. Wouldn't be shocked if she's saving fuel anyways and could make it to the end. And that also would explain, Kevin, why Yahir Rodriguez is eating them alive 3 or 4 seconds a lap with no tires.
Yeah, and making it work here back in the field. I don't know if Yahir will make it in time to play spoiler. Gap's 5 seconds, gained over that last 2-lap stint another 2 seconds. I think it will be close, but when you see that object in your mirror, like a lion seeing a gazelle get closer and closer, it motivates you to go faster and faster. So right now, making that work. Looks like Josh Arnold went a little wide, lost a couple spots. So that's going to be a few positions lost for that number 2 machine and points overall net loss. Look, again, if you pit right now, you're conceding you're going to be with Height and Roberg and presumably going to get 1 or 2 points if you're lucky.
Pits are close, they're all committed.
So yeah, Peach, Zier, Sosi staying on this strategy. They think this is the way that will benefit them the best, and they are going to roll the dice here to make it work here. As looking a little bit further back here, Callie Height's got some damage. No, sorry, Caitlin Height, sorry, number 3.
Yeah,
the one
3
just
cars wounded there.
Slow.
Big damage. That's a huge moment there for Katie Height. So she is going to be having to pit under a closed pit lane with a destroyed left front tire. That's basically curtains for her because that's going to be several minutes. What on earth has happened to the second most dominant car of the day today? It's through here. It's already happened here. It looks like it might have been a run-in with Flores, perhaps. No, not even.
We got another incident to check, too. Check on Wygen after this as well. That's going to be the incident you're going to see up the road here.
And it was the 2.
Yeah, Arnold had an incident. Wygen had an incident. So we're going to watch Wygen here because this is where the cattle peg kicks off here. And he's also going to get a big lick here as well. He had to tow to pit lane through the damage, I believe.
How's the 2 gone round then, I wonder? So they all come through and they, I guess, didn't see it or didn't slow down or couldn't pick the right lane. I'm not sure what happened.
This one's unrelated, I think, to the other one.
Yeah, this is totally unrelated. This happened after the fact. But here is what happened. Oh, he just gets hooked?
Yeah.
Roberg.
Right into the barriers.
Whoa.
And then, well, I guess we're here. We'll look at Arnold real fast.
Well, we'll come back and look at this.
Yeah,
we'll come back and look when the caution comes out. But yeah, Height's probably done, as is Roberg and is the 00. This has really fallen into the hands of Dustin Hall, who really needed his other chasers to have some drama here. But right now, it's Hunter Peach and Lilac Zier battling for the stage win.
Yeah, right there. Obviously, we'll take a look at that in a second, but we want to focus on this as Zier is hounding Peach here. We saw how aggressive Zier was to try to get a few extra points. Well, right now, she's one of those drivers that's really capitalized at this point, but look now. If they make a mistake, Yahir's there to capitalize. 2 seconds, not going to be enough probably to win this stage, but just enough if something happens with these two drivers fighting hard here. Peach still not cracking his curve yet here. Zier just hoping maybe that 20 can have a wiggle here to try to open up the door to allow Zier in, but Peach still smooth sailing. And with one more corner to operate, it looks poised. He will take the Stage 2 victory.
Yeah, and it can't be remiss. We just watched about half of the chasers all drop like flies in the last 2 laps. There's the 2 of Arnold barely coasting down pit lane to try and get there and get anything. Caution should have waved already, but it didn't.
Okay, that's interesting because yes,
now it comes out late, so they're gonna have an extra bit of caution there. That's gonna be frustrating for the drivers. But yeah, it's gonna be Peach, Zier, Rodriguez, Hall, Susie, then Hall, Gaiman, Callie Height, Eli Sasick, David Smeal Jr., and Connor Morse, the top 10. What an amazing turn of events when most of the front runners out in the last handful of laps. Congratulations to Peach on making it work, but let's once again now go back to see what happened here. It all started with the 2
of Josh
Arnold through the bus stop. So let's take a look here.
While we wait for this to pop up here, 2 quick corrections. Caution was not thrown due to a battle for the line, so that's why they held it. And so that is worth noting on the record here why it was thrown so late. But up the road here, obviously, Wygen has his own incident, but that doesn't affect Arnold. I did see Arnold lose a couple spots.
The Wygen incident was after the fact, so...
Yeah, this is unrelated. You can see right there, Caitlin Height there with Dustin Hall. Arnold minding his business. He'll get loose here, I think, probably through the bus stop.
Just the curbs. He just dropped it. Oh, and he bounces off the wall. That's why they get involved here. He's holding the brakes, and neither of them made it. Neither of them were able to get out of the way. I thought at first that it was just Height, and forgive me for just backing this up very rudimentary, but it's going to be just quicker this way. But you can see here as the 2 slides out, Hall's already not going to quite make it because he's already on an off angle. Height probably can't hardly tell what's going on with the 12 in front, but they're both going to slide out. Hall checks up, tries to get through. It looks like they're both trying to get out of the way. Just the momentum that they're all carrying out here is just... Hall just barely skates by, but does make contact, and Height clobbers Josh Arnold and goes through the air. And you can see at the same time, Elias Flores has to basically all but stop to avoid this. And you can see Gaiman almost crashing in sympathy as it happens as well. And that's not even the end of it, because after all of that just occurred, just up the road is the 00, or down the road rather, is the 00 of Wygant fighting with Roberg and Sasick in an ascent sandwich, and this is what we saw as well. So they've already had that wreck in the bus stop. Everything's cleared from that, and then we'll see Wygant make a move on the inside of Roberg. Roberg's going to try and pinch him down, and I wonder if it's going to be Wygant that slides up or Roberg that gets loose. And
Wygant goes up, it looks like, from that angle.
Yeah, Wygant goes up a little bit. There's going to be a natural arc there, but of course when there's a car outside, not a whole lot you can do about it. Let's see if we can't take another look here. From Roberg's perspective, this could be the most enlightening. Actually, Roberg...
Well, there's Blowers.
Yeah.
Going to the bus stop.
Roberg didn't want to have the camera work because the numbers are different, so we'll take one more look at that. Now we're right on board here with Roberg. So this is through the bus stop. You're going to see Pacey Wygant come up the inside.
I don't think Roberg really moves. He's just kind of holding his line.
Yeah, I think that's... You want to say racing deal, but I don't know. I mean, they're both on totally different lanes and they kind of overlapped. I guess the only advice I can give to Pacey is go ahead and private your Twitter now.
So overall, though, this is something else I want to note with how interesting that stage was. At the point of the stage ended and the cautions happened, it was interesting because the current car in 10th place, obviously at the point of the stage ending, obviously now cars coming into pit. Hall and Sasick like to stay out. With Hall having that damage, it is interesting to see him do that. But to go back to my point, Morse was about, give or take, 48 seconds, maybe 50 seconds away from our race leader at the stage 1 caution there of Hunter Peach. Just to show you how chaotic that at the end of that stage was, with how many cars getting damaged or getting looped around. It allowed a car that was, again, 50 seconds back from our race leader to get a stage point.
Yeah, I mean, this whole entire event was turned on its head in a matter of 2 laps, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just an overall piece. So Hall, Sasick staying out. Honestly, looking at Hall's car,
I wonder if it was a netcode contact that may have been what happened there, because, I mean, we saw it on the screen. Definitely there was a collision, but it doesn't look like there's any damage on the 12, and it didn't look like he was slowing quite nearly as much as what we saw the 3 of Height. Obviously, Height hit a lot harder, but
yeah.
I think that might have been a netcode contact for Hall. It is one of those situations where it was sort of a glancing bit of contact, so where the server could be convinced perhaps there wasn't contact at all. So that I would think, obviously, Kevin, if there was damage, Hall would have pit, because all of the cars around him are out of the race anyway. He really doesn't gain much by staying out here. So, and let's not let it be remiss either, with all of those cars that just dropped out, we only have about 13 cars left in the field. So,
too.
Yeah, so I think if he would have had damage, he would have pit. So I feel like he got netcode contact there and got very lucky to not hit that stricken number 2 car. And I was about to say, I wonder if the 2 car rolled into traffic when that crash happened, but no, he did everything right. He bounced off that retaining wall and flew into traffic and held his brakes. He did everything he could. There's just nowhere to go, and unfortunately it takes out Caitlin Height and Josh Arnold and Pacey Wygen in an unrelated issue about 5 seconds later. So just like that, we were looking at Dustin Hall,
Hall's in. No, Hall's not in.
No, just warming the tires there. But Dustin Hall, who by far...
Oh, but Sophie actually isn't.
Yeah.
Sorry to keep cutting off.
No, you're okay.
Peach and a few others coming in, and this, I was going to bring up the point there, is when we get the green this time at 22 laps, this is pretty much the same situation at the end of stage 2, and looking at the gap, it's not that far. So again, Sosi, Peach, Morse, Blowers, all in this time by. They're going to try, I assume this is basically saying, look, we're not coming back in. We're going to make it out. And this makes me question the strategy of Hall and Sasic electing to stay out. Considering how few cars there are, this feels like an odd call here, because I think the strategy is get as far ahead as possible and then try to minimize the damage and basically run them back down. It's odd, because considering the fact now those cars are staying out, probably to the end, this is a tale of two strategies.
Yeah, I don't agree with the strategy call either. But you also got to think these guys have been racing strategies with 30-plus cars all season. I don't know how many of them realize there's only about 10 cars left. And it hasn't been a wreck fest either. It's just we literally lost about 6 cars within a span of 3 laps with everything transpiring there. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't agree with it either, Kevin, because I think we even saw in the case of Zier, she didn't pit that extra time, and she still made it on fuel. I think everybody could try to make it on fuel if they're going to save. I don't know that Callie Height's going to save. I don't think Yahir is going to save. I don't think Gaiman's going to save. But I think Zier absolutely could save, because we saw her do it. Susie's going to save. Peach is going to save. Morse is going to save. Blowers is going to save. I wouldn't be shocked if we see Hall save if he did pit, but he didn't. So I don't know. I think these two boys have backed themselves up against the wall pretty much here, but we'll see what happens. I guess the good thing that's working out for Hall is that you know, the people he's closest to in the points are all crashed out, or some of the people ahead of him in the points have all crashed out, so he's gonna gain no matter what here. And it's not just about stage points, but I don't know. 12 cars on the lead lap, handful a lap down. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it plays, but everyone playing for keeps here. And regardless, it will shake up the playoffs, definitely at least a little bit. Pace car going to pull on off. It is going to be the final stage, and it will be starting in a second here. Control will be on the 12s machine. Green flag is out, and we're away for the final stage in the HTL New York 300 here at Watkins Glen. Cars already getting a bit racy. Yahir going to be aggressive going into one, but maybe learning a bit of a lesson. Does not want to send it on like similar to Gaiman there. Gaiman has to fight a correction.
Oh, Zier.
The Lilacs here around.
Yeah, Zier backwards in the middle of the track. Nobody's going to hit her. She's lucky there, but that's going to be day done as far as trying to win this race. I think she's going to lose a ton of time. She's still trying to get the 50 car turned around. Meanwhile, up front, Callie Height. Oh, Dustin Hall loses it at the top of the S's. And Callie Height is going to try to go for the lead down into the bus stop chicane.
Oh, she blinked there a little bit. That's
she's going to get it, though. Unbelievable move.
Gotta respect it. Take advantage of the opportunity and take your chance, kiddo. Get to the lead.
Wow.
You can see right there, Sasic gonna follow at second. Yahir, I thought, was thinking about doing something too.
Yeah, he was thinking the same thing. Oh, but he's nearly lost it now as well, off the nose of the 33, but they nearly come to blows. They do come to blows down into the penultimate corner, and they touch again, and Gaiman's gonna get turned.
Oh, Gaiman, our picks fighting against each other. Gaiman gonna spin it off there.
Oh,
He'll
he
save
saves
it
it
again.
Wow.
But that's gonna be just outside the top 10 right now, currently 8th. Right now battling the car 8, and that's the second time Yahir and Gaiman have had a little bit of a connection there. And you can see right now, Gaiman probably not going to be too thrilled about that.
I think that was without a doubt tempers flaring. Eli Sasek tried to bomb it into turn 1. Couldn't quite get it this time. Let's take a quick look at this replay because this was absolutely insane. We see the 12 car of Dustin Hall getting sideways at the top of the S's on those old tires. Twitches it off the curb. Watch this. Yahir goes down. Hyatt makes an even bigger move, splits them 3 wide, goes straight through, and then tries to carry it off into the chicane, gets the preferred lane, gets on through, and as that happens, she'll take the lead. But then watch this 33 car and Yahir Rodriguez. This is the one that's going to be drawing some eyebrows, I think, because they made contact about 3 or 4 times down the straightaway and then ended up hooking each other.
You'll see it here. There's a little mistake by Yahir. Gaiman tried to fill the hole. Then you see the spin off here, and then you can see them fighting side by side again here, and there's the little contact. That gets a little hook. They get into each other. Gaiman goes a long way quickly, and then you can see him get it saved, but that's going to be a lot of spots lost. But I think we should cut back to the lead here as Yahir going to try to make a move on that one machine, and this is what I felt like. If the 95 was patient, didn't he really press the issue? He's had the fastest car all night with a lot of your main competitors behind the wall. You don't need to force the issue, and right now going to make a move off into 1 here. Going to send it. Sasek going to try to follow suit. Has to lock it up to not hit the 1. But Yahir now to the lead and is going to try to set sail.
Yeah, I feel like that move was inevitable. It was going to happen eventually, but you got to admire how...
Ooh, Hunter Peach around. Sorry to cut you off.
No, of
Peach
course.
is sideways in 1, wondering if something happened or if he ended up looping it. But that is going to be more contact. Actually, it looks like he had some contact with Smeal. So we'll take a look here. You can see side by side off into 1.
Oh, Smeal was wheel hopping, and he gets down on an awkward angle. He slides up and gets into the 20. That's going to be unfortunate. Peach technically only going to lose 1 position, but critically it is to Lilac Zier. So it's just continues to pop off here. And oh, you can see the 9 of Sasek trying to make a move. I think Height made a mistake in the bus stop, but Sasek still struggling on old tires. And another thing that I'm surprised about why he didn't make a pit stop, Kevin, he's been fighting the balance of that number 9 car ever since he made his last pit stop. He has not found that car to handle at all how he's wanted it to, and he's going to continue to struggle and chop off the nose there. They're going to get bumper to bumper, and into the pit lane now comes Dustin Hall, who knew he couldn't make it anyway.
Yeah, making it anyway. So fighting hard here again. You want to get as far as up the road as possible because if you have to pit, which they're going to have to pit with Hall pitting anyway now, just going to come in, probably try to put 4 tires on it, maybe just come in fuel, we'll have to see, but going to use opportunity to run down now. He thinks he's got as far as he needs to get, and is now just going to try to take this opportunity and run it down while all the cars having problems.
Yeah, forgive the ticker for being a bit of a mess right now. Given the on-track action, could you really blame it? Oh, Gaiman gets very sideways at the top of the S's now as well. They are all fighting with the handling of these race cars.
He confirmed fuel only for Dustin Hall on his stop. He did miss his box, though, so that's going to be a little time lost. But folks in the battle for second because Yahir has checked out. 2 seconds now clear of the 9. We know Sasek has a pit stop looming. The question is, how many other cars will have to come in to ensure to get to the finish line?
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tight. I know we know that Sasek cannot make it. There's no way he can. It's going to be a matter of who's saving fuel and who isn't. I got to think Yahir Rodriguez is not saving fuel. I feel like Susie definitely is. Callie might be. Blowers, I think, is not, given the fact that he's gained a lot of positions here. Gaiman is pitting. He's not even going to try to bother with the saving the fuel. That is a very Josh Gaiman move, but especially with the way he skirted his tires when he got turned there, I wonder if that might have something to do with that as well.
I'll throw another point out there. We saw in the first stage where all the cars came in, Height and Zier made it work by staying out because they had clean track, while the other cars that came in were battling cars around them. You can see right now Sasek and Height obviously fighting out there, and that may in turn affect cars ahead and behind here. So because of that, it makes me wonder if you come in, take it now, get the clean track, and try to use as an advantage to go faster here. Looks like something's happened to Hunter Peach.
We're looking back live right now. It's just trying to fix the ticker issue. Katie Height is not the leader with Rodriguez. She's several laps down, but to your point, Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that obviously I don't hate the call by Gaiman because right now, Gaiman on an island right now. He's got no one ahead of him, a few cars behind him, but no real pressure. Teammate or friendly sister team behind. Obviously, height 5 laps down, nothing you really can do. Not really to fight Gaiman. So as long as Gaiman keeps his foot down, assuming most of these cars have to pit, or if they are going to have to pit, not going to be able to save, he could in turn really make this work. Kaylee Height in as well. Remember, she was also on the crew, and she did that early call in stage 1, and that didn't benefit her, though. She ended up making a net 0 gain or loss, so overall, both these cars trying to go for the clean track and the undercut to try to get ahead of Yahir and Sasek, who are going to go longer here.
Well, to tell you the truth, if she net zeros again, she'd still be on the podium, and I don't think she'd be complaining at that one bit. So I think it's an interesting strat here. I still think, I tell you what, Kevin, especially with the fact that she just got turned on a couple laps into the stint, I feel like Lilac Zier is going to try to save fuel to go to the end because she's already lost 15 seconds. I feel like we saw her make it last time. I think she has the ability to do it. Similarly with Hunter Peach, they both made mistakes here. They both should have enough fuel to make it. They both had enough last time. I think we see both of them try to go long.
Yeah, and I just saw Gaiman just come out barely ahead of Height, who just came out of the pit lane, and now it's height on height violence as he'll be battling on the track here. Not for position, as one is obviously 5 down, the other is not. But this is interesting because this is where this is the lead of the cars that pitted. Gaiman is the lead, and he's only P8. So if more cars peel off, that is going to be position after position after position. And you can see Dustin All obviously missed his box, lost that extra time. That is the ill effects of that, though, as he's now about a couple seconds back at Gaiman.
Still in the hunt, though.
Still in the hunt. That is 100% indeed. So now the question I again proposed, only car that we are sure is going to have to come in is Eli Sasek. After that, can Sosi, who did make it in stage 2, can he fully stretch this and maybe steal one? Obviously, he's a driver that you don't usually see steal wins because he's a strong competitor. But right now, I think he's in the best position to maybe just make the fuel run last and in turn take this win.
If he could, it would be an incredible feat. And it would be a bit of a spoiler for sure. Yahir Rodriguez, without a doubt, has been the fastest car on track tonight. He has not won both stages, though. He won stage 1, finished 3rd in stage 2. He doesn't care about any of that, though. He's looking for the win. I think his pace is going to be very overwhelming because if you think about it, if everybody pits, Kevin, with Zier and Peach being the 2 strongest cars previously, they both have spun out, and the gap at the end of the stage 2 was only a handful of seconds, so I think Rodriguez could pass them confidently on track, even if they do stay out. So, yeah, I don't know. We're getting down to the final 15 laps here. It's going to really start kicking off. We're going to see these drivers coming down pit lane if they can't make it, but we'll see who thinks they can stretch it. We know Sasek will have to pit. Rodriguez, I assume, will pit considering the pace that he's running. But Susie is, I think, a really big question mark right now, as is Blowers and maybe even Smeal.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting as some drivers are going to stretch, some drivers are going to pull out indeed. There you can see the gap, though, that Sosi has to Blowers. So it also, in turn, as checks, like if you see just down the road there, you can see Smeal in a battle with Deer and Blowers, and then you can see one car mow the grass. Blowers. So you can see that this pressure is really showing off here, and this doesn't allow these cars here to have to fight for every position to really back it up and save. So this in turn helps the cars that are way ahead, like Rodriguez and Sosi, who have that comfortable gap. They can really just kind of clutch it and cloche and really internally save that fuel they need.
Yeah, and even if they don't make it to the checkered flag, even if they don't win the race, they could still make some incredible gains. I mean, look at where Smeal's at right now. He's had a terrible day. He's got damage on that number 8 machine, but he's up at position. Oh, we got a car around. Who is that? Is that Sasek?
It's one of the
It's Sasek. Sasek spun out.
Oh, Sasek was fighting that car all night, and
I think it finally caught up.
Kicked. Yeah.
Let's take a look here.
Take a look.
I don't think that was it. It was a little later in. Yeah, so he's already spun it here. We'll go back one more. There's damage on the car as well, so I wonder what's happened here, because it doesn't look like the damage you would usually get if you hit the wall on the outside. We'll see. Oh, he's lost it and hit the inside wall. Oh, that's a huge shunt.
Ooh, yeah. Big shunt. There goes Sosi. Almost backed it up into Sosi accidentally. And he spins it, luckily, around with no one, so he can do that.
Yeah, that was...
back up. He's already lost 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots. And now he's down to P6.
Not to mention the damage he definitely has on that suspension. It's not going to handle the same. See if we can go on board, honestly. You might see the wheel offset a little bit here. Just a little bit.
A little bit. That's manageable.
It's honestly better than I thought it would be. But yeah, he's going to try and get back on the horse, but he has to make a pit stop anyways, Kevin, and he gave up about a pit stop's, not the trip down pit lane, but a pit stop's worth of time alone with that mistake.
Yes, I would expect he just comes in this time by, but he is not going to do so. He's going to elect to stay out. And this helps, again, Rodriguez even more because the closest car on track was Sasic. And now it's a 10-second gap from Rodriguez to Sosi. So now, again, this plays the Rodriguez hand. Doesn't have to go full throttle every lap. Can slowly just back it up, and back it up. Try to hit that magical number that Rodriguez maybe can hit. Question is, can he do it or not? But also go the opposite. Go hard, push aggressively, and try to open up the biggest gap you can to try to, in turn, give you a better chance to run down the cars that are staying out.
And how about Bobby Blowers? We've had a lot of spoilers up front today. Bobby Blowers up in P3 as it stands on merit. We expect him to make a pit stop. However, he may not have to if he saves enough fuel. He's going to let Zier go by here for that third position at the moment, but Blowers having a great day. He's kept it clean for the most part. He's made a couple mistakes as far as track limits go. He's had some slowdowns, but all 4 corners on that car still clean this far in.
Yeah, keeping it clean. That's sometimes the best you can ask for around this track. When you look at a lot of the other cars around that number 94 machine that have heavy lumps, either on, like you see Zier, little damage on the front end, or Smeal, big damage on the right corner panel. And you can see right now Smeal actually is coming in, so he will pit from P6, and he will say he can't make it. No more Moss. He is in. And now Yair Rodriguez is also pitted by the way, our race leader. So Sosi will now take the lead, Zier up the second. And now the question is, how far will Yair cycle out here in regard? Here is obviously the cars that came in previously. Can they jump that number 97 machine? Well, 97 just left the box now and is going to come out way ahead of Josh Gaiman, and that is going to be a comfortable margin. So right now, Yair is the best chance to win this race from the cars that have pitted.
Yeah, it's not even going to be close. I don't think we expected any different from that. I think the biggest concern for Yair is making sure he didn't get a speeding penalty or that he didn't slide the box and he had so much of a gap. Look, he's come out just behind Hunter Peach. I mean, it's not even.
Yeah. Only thing, though, is it is 16 seconds with 12 laps to go. With the averages he was running personally each lap, it is a good gain, but not the greatest gain. Maybe a second lap. So at that rate, he probably won't catch Sosi if Sosi stays out if he keeps running that pace. But the question is, can he keep running that pace? As Sosi now will take 11 laps to go here. And this will only be, as you'll see the ticker go up, first lap. Now it's a second lap led. So 2 laps led, which is a rare feat for that 81. You usually see that lap at least in the double digits at most tracks. And well, at the moment, he's looking poised to punch his ticket to Final Four and try to become the first HTL driver to defend the championship at Fontana by being a defending champion.
I think the other thing to keep in mind here as well, Kevin, is you need to think, is Sosi hitting his marks right now? Because he may slow down dramatically at the end of the race if he's been saving, but it hasn't been enough. That's something we've seen people do. They build a gap and then they start saving. They give themselves that cushion and then they start extremely saving, losing seconds per lap to try and make a fuel number. I would expect Sosi's running a consistent pace that he thinks will make it to the checkered flag on time, but if he gets to about 4 or 5 laps to go and he's still a half a lap or a lap short of fuel, he doesn't want to have to pit. He may give up a ton of time at the end. Yair Rodriguez doesn't have to worry about that. So Rodriguez may get quicker and Sosi may get slower, but that's all assuming that Sosi doesn't make a pit stop. We'll have to see.
And in turn, right now, again, just to show you how fast that Rodriguez is flying, 2 seconds already gained in 2 laps. Going to catch the back, yeah. And yeah, going to catch Flores there, and easily is going to catch Blowers. And at that point, that's a podium already. And then Zier's just a couple up the road, and then keep counting and keep climbing. Right there, purple sector 2. Not going to set the fast lap of the race, but he just set a 1:11.87. Our race leader set a 1:12.52, and fast out of the 3 ahead is Zier at a 1:12.40. So clearly clearing that benchmark by over a second to Blowers, and by half a second to both Zier and Sosi.
Yeah, it's going to continue to heat up here. I think Sasic has made a pit stop. I think he has now, so he will slot back in. Yeah. I think at this point the leaderboard is all kinds of screwed up from what it looks like.
For reference, Sasic is currently 10th, and then it's Sasic. So top 10 right now: Sosi, Zier, Blowers, Rodriguez, Peach, Gaiman, Height, Hall, Spiel, Sasic. So obviously Caitlin Height is not currently sitting in tied for first. She's
Yeah.
5 down. But basically, take everyone. That's top 10. Just 9th is 10th, and just move the rest of the ladder around where you need it. So that means right now, as we try to get a refresh on the ticker, 10 laps to go. There's Lilac to your car, currently sitting in second. She's been known for strategy at the road course. She's been a threat for podiums every time we go to a said road course. She's looking to try to get a race and steal one here and get a good chance for the final 2 rounds at Chicagoland and Bristol in the next 2 weeks. Right now, doing good right now, sitting in P2, 3 seconds ahead of Blowers and about 6 seconds ahead of Rodriguez, but 6 seconds back of Sosi. But worth noting, she is the fastest car in that top 3 on track. Not making enough inroads per se maybe to catch Sosi, but Sosi did a 113 that time by, Zier did a 112. So she is, again, slowly reeling in that number 81 machine, albeit closely. Again, we'll have to keep an eye on Sosi's times because he drops it off a little bit too much. He could fall under pressure of Zier.
Yeah, it's a very good point, Kevin. She is quicker right now. The only one who's faster than her is Yahir Rodriguez, and Yahir is faster by almost a full second. So, I don't know. Don't keep your eyes off of Bobby Blowers either. I think he's truly set to get a top 5 here if he can make it the full distance. He has put on a great show tonight. And let it not be remiss, you see in the background there, the 33 of Gaiman, who's been bullied pretty much all day long, is about to catch back up to Hunter Peach, so he's made a great recovery as well, and the battle between Height and Hall is going to be heating up now as well. So Callie Height trying to hang on to a top 5 herself. We'll see what she could do as she fights with Hall, who needs to get every point he can because he had a very poor start to this race. Granted, his competitors have had a tumultuous last half of this race, so he will probably actually make inroads on a lot of the cars around him in the point standings, but not able to get the one car this particular time, but he really would like to get that position on Callie Height.
Yeah, he will try, and obviously saw him in the chat right there, and he kind of chimed in real fast when he could. One word, he hates saving gas, so right now not having the best of time, but trying to hit that number to get it going. Again, I keep an eye on Zier. She just saved off a whole second. She's now under 5, 4.6, and closing. So keep an eye on that 50. She's going to try to make a run to 81, unless that 81 is in full
there
save
she is.
mode.
Yeah, you got to wonder, maybe she's hit her target. We know she's a lot better at saving fuel than the rest of the field because she tends to do these strategy moves. We saw her make it work a treat at the end of stage 2. She ran down Hunter Peach and had a chance to fight with Peach for that position as well. So don't forget about that. Perhaps she has hit her number. This is what we were talking about earlier, Kevin. Maybe Susie needs to save extra now. Oh, yeah, here Rodriguez spins in the background. Rodriguez around.
No, then he is stopped. He's going to have to back it up.
Oh my goodness.
Almost in the game, and I think right now Gaiman may be screaming karma on the radio, even though he's not saying that right now, but that's a kind of a thought he maybe has.
Wow, that changes everything though, because now it really does give Zier an opportunity here. She doesn't have to worry about her mirror. Let's see, it was with Bobby Blowers. Does Blowers make a mistake or does Rodriguez make a mistake? Oh, Rodriguez completely blew the corner.
Yeah, over aggressive by the 95, knowing that again it was going to be a big task to try to make that gap up. Yeah, that's almost worse too. Almost clutch Peach. So Rodriguez trying to make up for that strategy call there and trying to drive aggressive and just kind of got lost.
He's thrown his race away for the most part. I mean, he still might get back up there if they start racing each other really hard, but I don't know. And now he's making all kinds of little mistakes here. There may be something wrong with the car after the contact. I mean, wow, I am very surprised at that. This has effectively handed it over to Susie and Zier.
Honestly, I did say he has a problem sometimes just over pushing. Like
he is his own worst enemy. Yeah, all he had to do was keep his head down here. I think he was starting to see though, Kevin, that the laps were clicking away, and it was looking like maybe he didn't have quite enough pace to get there. So he was really thinking, you know, every move he doesn't make is going to be what costs him this win. But he's well and truly thrown it away now, unfortunately. But again, I don't think he was going to be happy with the second place. It was either going to be the win or nothing, and that's what we kind of see from those drivers that aren't in the championship. But second place means absolutely nothing. You either win it or you crash trying. So it's just unfortunate because this is not the first time we've seen Yahir Rodriguez put on a clinic and then something more or less kind of silly throw it away at the end. But that's the cruel mistress that is racing. That's how it goes.
Yeah, that's how it goes indeed. But we'll focus on the present here. Zier now under 3 seconds with 6 laps to go. For reference, Zier ran a 1:13 last time by. Sosi a 1:14.2. Zier 1:13.1. So she is clearly faster than Sosi. But it makes you wonder, we did kind of assume. Remember, Sosi topped off, Zier did not. So Sosi has that one little extra lap of fuel, but we're counterintuiting that thought that Zier knows how to save. She knows how to get those numbers she needs to get to try to make this run work. And both these two drivers have been internally strong at these road courses. Every time we got to the finish,
I hate to cut you off, Kevin, but she clutched it there for a minute, I do believe, to save just a little bit of fuel. So she's trying to get the most out of it here.
All right, that is interesting to note. So she has not hit her number yet, and you can see a little time loss because of that. So this is going to be interesting to see. Maybe Sosi again was bleeding time to ensure he got that extra little extra number to make sure he could make it to the end here. But Zier still under 2.5, so we are going to have a race on our hands here between the two podium finishers at these road courses the past many times we've been here. One of them, at Noah, is poised to take the checker flag and lock their way into the playoffs at Fontana in a couple weeks' time. They do collide. Blowers, Peach, Gaiman set third, fourth, and fifth, and they're about 10 back. So this is the race for the lead and the win, now 1.8. Zier sees it basically like a lion seeing a gazelle. She's happy, she's ready, and she's going to strike. And with 4 laps to go, she won't get many opportunities, but she's going to try to make everything count.
I think Zier hit her number, and I don't think Sosi quite has yet. I think what I predicted might happen is starting to happen, but instead of it being with Rodriguez, it's happening with Zier. I think she seems to be closer and more confident that she can make it. And she's consistently over a second a lap faster per lap. I mean, it's not that Sosi's slow. We know he's not slow. He's trying to hit a number right now, and Zier is too, but I think she's being a lot more aggressive because she saved a little more early on. Even with the top off Sosi did, I just don't know if he's got enough to save. But again, Sosi's going to save all the way up until Zier gets to that back bumper, and then he's going to try to push. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Can he respond to Zier closing in?
And looking at their best lap times, if they do end up having to go mano a mano, glove to glove, Zier is technically got the better lap this race. So at the very least, Zier has a little bit faster, but that can be nothing. Now it's a second, though.
She can see him now. Like, I mean, we were on board just a moment ago. You saw how far up the road that Sosi was. Zier is there now, and Sosi cannot afford to let this car run out of fuel. If it's between winning the race and coming second, the gaps that they have back to the rest of the field, you can hear again clutch coasting here, being super aggressive with it. She's trying to, even for 50 feet that she can clutch coast the car, she's getting absolutely everything out of it, and she's still gaining on Sosi. She knows how to drive the car when she's clutch coasting it. Of course, when you clutch coast the car, you're not going to get that engine braking. She's in a rhythm right now. She hasn't adjusted what she's done from stage 1, from stage 2. She seems so much more confident and seems like she has a better handle on how to drive the car while saving the fuel. It's so difficult if you're not in the car, if you don't know how it works. The way that this is, when you're clutch coasting that car, you don't get that extra help from the engine to slow the car down. It is so difficult to drive the car on the limit while saving fuel, and she's trying to get that done right now. It's going to be fireworks in a few laps.
It's going to be fireworks, and you know, Sosi, obviously 19 points is a good coming in tonight, got some stage points, probably a little bit more comfortable. Zier, you don't know. This may be her best chance to punch her ticket for a championship in a couple weeks' time. You know she may not get a better opportunity depending on how the cookie crumbles. Gaiman, her main rival, just now up to third there fighting Blowers. We're staying on this to the finish, though, as this is obviously the most important battle on the track right now. But with Gaiman, again, main rival on circuit in the playoffs, if you win this line, you move that line up and make Gaiman have to answer back in the next 2 weeks, which we'll see if he can or can't. Half a second to go, 2 laps to go this time by. Zier is there, Zier is knocking. Can she get the better of the defending HTL champion?
This is going to be pretty intense because you saw how much time she gained on the bus stop alone, and Sosi not really saving much fuel right now, I don't think. At least not clutch coasting the way that Zier is. I feel like Zier is just driving the car with that clutch saving, and it's just working for her. She's caught up another second on this lap, and she's going to be on the back bumper by the time she gets through the bus stop. But we got to remember, Kevin, she tried the bus stop move a couple times tonight, and it didn't work out either time for her. She's been aggressive, which is something we don't see out of Zier too much. She's done a great job, but she's going to have to make sure she does it clean. Look at how much she gains through here.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. She's tried the bus stop twice. It's not been her friend. She'd probably like to do it before the bus stop. I think she maybe tried to set up for one, but look at this run. She's getting to the carousel. This has been her best sector these past 5-6 laps. It's this last one. This is where I think she's going to make her chance. You can see on the back here, kitty. Well, the kitty is here, and I think the kitty may have claws for stepping stone. You can see Sosi going to go defensive here. Zier going to try to maybe possibly under it. There's a little wiggle by the 81. Going to give the 50 a chance at a run. And as they come through the last corner, it is going to be right now Zier trying to haul down the straight to make a move on Sosi. 1 lap to go by Henderson Freights as we are going to head down into turn 1.
Yeah, this is going to be monumental. She's trying to be patient here. She can't wait forever, but she's waiting for an opportunity. We see Susi bobbling a little bit. Susi, obviously, it doesn't matter whether he runs out or not. He's going to be pushing now, and he seems to be able to respond right now. But again, it's the back half of the track where Zier comes to life, and that's the last thing you want to hear if you're Susi. And Susi gets a little bit tight there through the S's. This is a great opportunity.
Must stop move, possibly. Kinzier's thinking about it. She's going to go wide, but she's just a little bit too far back. She's going to have to set up to the last sector, but it's been her best sector. Sosi, okay for the bus stop. So is Zier. They're dead even. A little bit of a clip of the grass by Zier, but they're running good here as they cut through the carousel. Sosi backing it up, maybe trying to kill a run on Zier, but Zier good on exit, trying to go as hard as she can. It's going to be a couple corners to the finish.
Do they use the bumpers? 2 corners to go. Zier looking back. She's going to try and fancy another dive, trying to get in ahead of Susi, but he's been rock solid. But he goes a little wide in the penultimate corner. Into the final corner, 1 turn to go.
On the outside, she's not going to lift. It's going to be a photo to the line. Does Sosi doors? She can't. It will be space. It will be clean. And the postman will deliver Sosi onto Fontana. He will defend his championship, and he is locked into the Final Four. Zier gave it everything she had and just came up a day late and $1 short.
Oh, they're crashing.
And they're crashing. Gaiman, Blowers, and it looks like it was also Rodriguez. Peach will come in a third. Blowers going to try to back it up. Arnold going to try to give a little shunt there, a couple laps down to help Blowers out. But major chaos. Peach gets third, Rodriguez fourth, Gaiman fifth. So Gaiman ends up falling out.
Heights crashed too.
Also around 2.
Well, we're going to have some unpacking to do here, but they're still trying to finish this race. Here comes Sasek through the final corner. He's going to get another position here. Smeal's going to get another position. What happened to Callie Height in the last corner to take her out? She's going to drop out of the top 10 now. Everybody's going to get an extra position. And how about Caitlin Height, because of all this calamity, gets a 14th place finish 5 laps down because of everything unfolding here. And now Sasek spins after the checkers.
Yeah, it doesn't look like she gained much just because she was 5 down. No one else really went a major lap down there, so she ended up just kind of riding in 14th. But overall, great finish. Looking at Zier right now in the chat, she said lots of clutching. So we heard her. We saw it. She was clutching to try to get that number. And again, you can't hurt the effort. But if Zier comes up short in trying to make the Final Four, you're going to wonder if this keeps up at night a little bit. But Sosi doesn't have to worry about that. He has delivered. He has held it out, and I said he was going to try to save it, and he has. And he is now through. Bearing starts next week. We got to make that note. If he misses next week, that lock-in means nothing. But as long as he starts next week, he will defend his championship at Fontana. Next 2 weeks at both Chicagoland and Bristol. But as long as he does both of those, he'll be fighting for a championship in Fontana in a couple weeks' time. And he will burn it down in the hills of central New York.
Yeah, another win for him as you hear the car lighting it up. You see the drivers in the background still coming across the line, but Josh Susi is victorious tonight after he's done his burnouts here. We'll try to talk to our top 3 in just a moment, but let's try and take a look back to see how this one ended because it was, things were popping off behind them here. Here's Bobby Blowers, who ends up finishing 7th, so Gaiman on the back bumper here, going to get to the back of Blowers, and I think just kind of gets into him, goes deep, blows the corner a little bit. They all kind of run each other over. Yahir Rodriguez was there too, and Hunter Peach passes 3 cars in one go. And while that's happening, what happens to Callie Height? Because she's already spun out on her own, I think, back here.
Oh, she just lost it.
Oh, no, in the last corner all by herself. That's going to be crushing because she was on to have a career best finish there, and now it's all for naught. But take another look at this deal with Yahir and everybody, because I think Gaiman got a little over aggressive, like what we saw Yahir Rodriguez do not more than a couple laps ago, but they were scrapping it out here in the back half. Let's take one more look.
Yeah, we'll see again here. We'll see again. Gaiman going to try to be aggressive. And this is where I think the risk comes in. He's not around looking at a P4. He's still going to get good points, but right there he just lost 2 points because of a mistake trying to go for 1 and end up kind of hurting the averages here because he's just getting Blowers a little bit upset there. And you can see going to sense a move similar to Zier. This time going to try to go low. You can see Blowers puts the block. Gaiman gets in the back. Gaiman tries to clear and just not enough. And Yahir finishes off Blowers. Sends it around, and Peach just follows through, does what he needs to do, and sneaks on through, and that's going to get him a net gain of 2 points, while Gaiman ends up losing 1 because his incident will ride on board with Hunter Peach here. You can just see he's like content with where he is, move on to next week, and well, some chaos happens in front. Peach is like, ooh, all right, I'll take that, and he avoids major catastrophe, and he will get the last step of the podium because of that, and in turn get some extra nice little juicy, boozy bonus points for his troubles. So we see Sosi, one more quick correction as well. Callie instantly on the horn there saying she has 1 top 5, so it's not, wouldn't have been a career best even if she finished 7th.
Well, we'll see here. We'll talk to Josh Susi now, our race winner. Josh, this is Kristina in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, gotcha.
Well, it was an exciting way to finish that one. It looked like it might have been between you and Yahir Rodriguez at the end, but a mistake from him opened the door for you and Lilac Zier, and it was a brawl to the checkered flag. Walk us through those last few laps.
I mean, I was saving like hard, and surely Lilac's gonna have to pit this lap. Surely this lap. Well, I can't wait for Shirley anymore. I gotta go. And I topped off. Lilac didn't, so I have no idea how they were able to get it that far. It had to have been on fumes coming to the line. But yeah, I mean, stage 2, we did the same thing. And when I saw Lilac was able to do that, I knew it was going to be probably a race between us as long as the difference in what Yahir could make up on pit road wasn't as great, and we'd gotten bundled up on that restart in stage 2. It cost us a bunch of time. So once we were clean in stage 3 takeoff, for the most part, we didn't lose nearly as much time. And I was like, yeah, we got a real shot at making this work on not pitting. And yeah, when you don't got the outright speed, sometimes you got to try the alt strats, and instead of running 6th or 5th, I'm going to try to go for the win every time.
We saw you kind of didn't have that pace. Was that because throughout most of the race, was that because you were saving through all the stages, or was that raw pace that we were seeing in, for example, midway through stage 2?
Oh, stage 2 and on, definitely I was saving. Stage 1, it was probably like a 4th to 7th place car, you know, once it shook out, and I was like, I need more points than that. I know I'm comfortable-ish in the points for the next round going into tonight, but I knew this was a track with a lot of the people that are still in the playoffs. They were going to be able to capitalize and get a lot of stage points, so you know, you got to do something different to try to stay ahead of the curve.
Well, you're now locked in, headed into the championship 4, so that's going to be an interesting thing to watch you try to go for back-to-back championships. But I got to ask you, did you see yourself winning this race at any point, or was this something that kind of just came into play towards the end of that end of that second stage when things started to look a little more real?
I was trying to figure out the fuel all day, and once it played out in stage 2, like I said, where Lilac and myself were able to make it, and Hunter too, but he didn't save quite enough. I knew it was a real possibility. And yeah, start of the race, I didn't think we were going to be able to save enough fuel, so I was like, I'm probably going to run top 5, maybe I'll get a 6th or a 7th, and then once I saw that door open up for the fuel strat, I jumped all over it.
Well, it worked out for you. You are going to be racing for a championship, but who made it work for you today, and is there anybody else you want to shout out as well?
Oh yeah, I mean, first and foremost, as always, Nitro Setups, go get you some if you're going to run on the oval side of Open Set NASCAR. Everyone here at Lady Liberty, great teamwork with Valfreya, very unfortunate luck for Caitlin. I think Josh ended up having a decent finish, so hopefully the points are shaking up okay. That's going to be our primary focus next 2 weeks, trying to make sure both of them are able to advance with me. It's going to be tough, but we'll do what we can. And everyone on the team, great job. Everyone that showed up tonight, I know it's in the playoffs and it's a road course, so a lot of people tend to dip just alone when the playoffs start and they're not in it, and then you add a road course on top of it, and that seems to kill the field even more. But we had a good turnout, so thank you to everyone that showed up, and thank you all for the broadcast. I can't wait to go back and look at it. I'm sure it's going to be quite exciting listening to the analysis and what you thought was going on and what you thought was going to happen, and then how it played out in regards to those thoughts. So it was good being able to talk to y'all again. It's been a while, so hopefully we can do it again in the next 3 weeks.
Well, Susie, it was a great run for you. You put it in victory lane today, and we'll see you fight for a championship in a few weeks' time. Congrats.
Thank you. Let's go.
And I believe that Kevin Young has caught up with Lilac Zier, who finished P2 tonight.
Yes, I have. I've found Lilac here in second place. First of all, how are you, Lilac? How was the race?
Hello, I'm all right. It was an up and down day.
We'll start off here because obviously we'll kind of talk about the first two stages. As we've seen at Sonoma, Suzuka East, all these other road courses we've seen throughout the year, you have been a driver that has tried differing strategies at road courses, and I kind of hypothesized you were going to do it again. So take us through your thought process of those first two stages. What was the mindset knowing that in stage 2 you made it on fuel and brought it to the end, stage 1 you had a pit? So what was your mindset in those first two stages on strategy?
Uh, just trying to get stage points as much as possible. I knew everyone had to pit in stage 1, so I made my pit stop as short as possible, and figuring I would top off at the end of stage caution so that I could make it hopefully on fuel in stage 2 anyway. So I kind of came up with that halfway through the first stage of what I was gonna do there. Worked pretty good. Jumped a couple cars in stage 1 to get points. Then stage 2, I thought it's gonna be pretty tight on fuel, but I can do it. Um, and I kind of got a little actually at the first end of stage 1, I almost got into pace a little bit, but we lived. So sorry for that. I was just trying to get a move done at the bus stop, and it was not quite. It's hard to go side by side through there. I gotta look at it again.
Yeah.
And then in stage 2, I had the same thing happen. I got into Elias Flores, so that wasn't good either. I'm sorry for that one. I gotta stop running into cars, I guess. You know, uh, Came back from that, saved enough fuel, get up to second in stage. Hunter was on the same strat, but he had to pit under closed pit. So then that put me in a good spot for the final run. And then I threw it away on cold tires on the restart
Moving
in turn
further,
1.
yeah, moving further on, obviously I was going to talk about, you said the cold tires on the restart, and moving further on, you always had to make big work. Well, then when the strategies play out, you're in second and you're slowly closing that gap. And we saw in the broadcast, you were clutching in corners, you were trying to save, but you were still making up good time. I got to ask, what were you kind of was going through your mind when you were catching Sosik, reeling him in, and then also take us through those last couple laps from perspective?
Well, if there's one thing I'm pretty good at, I think it's fuel saving on at least at Watkins Glen. Um, there's a lot of spots here where I figured out how to, coast into the corner without losing too much time, and then throw it into the bus stop still and make all that time back up. Uh, and I was making good time there. I thought maybe he was even going to run out because he was saving so much, but I think he just wanted to have a little margin there. And once I finally got to him, I didn't want to run into him and win that way because I already did that once by accident and don't want to do it on purpose. Uh, and I thought Rodriguez was going to catch us. They had the fastest car, but something happened to them when they were after their pit stop. So I'm just like, all right, I have nothing behind me. Everyone else got involved in incidents too. I think some other people who were contenders had something go wrong. So just really wanted to find a way past there, but just got alongside at the final corner and just couldn't quite do it. Ran out of fuel off the corner, but he had a better run anyway. And yeah, stings because I lost about 10, 12 seconds in that spin. So I would have maybe been able to pull it off without that. But who knows? Maybe I would have been involved in some other incident instead.
Yep. Continue on, obviously, with the 2 rounds left. Chicago and Bristol, obviously, with this good run here and some stage points, you should presumably be above the cut line right now. But mindset going to Chicago and Bristol to try to ensure that you give yourself a chance to fight for championship at Fontana in 2 weeks' time. Obviously, the main strategy would be to win, but mindset for the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, just try not to have any big ones happen and get taken out, because last season I was in a good spot after Watkins Glen, and then had horrible races after that and finished 12th or something in points. So yeah, try to have a clean race, good race at Chicagoland, and be above the cut line if I can, because Bristol can be a mess and chaotic. But if I stay out of trouble, I'm pretty good at Bristol, so maybe we'll be okay there. I don't know. Just try not to get wrecked. Try not to wreck anybody, and hopefully not make anybody mad.
Well, obviously, we've gotten to the point of the show. If there's anyone want to thank, family, friends, sponsors, whatever, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Yeah, thanks APN for the broadcast. Thanks HTL for the league, and thanks to James, my team owner, and thanks to my teammates and my friends and anybody watching at home.
All right, great talk to you, Lilac. Probably talking for the season's end, but regardless, you take care. Have a good rest of your week.
Thanks, Kevin. Take care.
And we got one more person left. Kristina, I think, has found our 3rd place finisher. Kristina, why don't you see who it is?
Yeah, I sure have. I'm down here with Hunter Peach, who finished P3 tonight after well, it looked like you're going to finish, P7? And then the last corner worked out really well for you. Hunter, walk us through that.
Oh, I'm speechless, not a really great road course with a lot of shenanigans that I went through. I really don't know what really much to say. I guess be grateful enough to come out here with good points. So, no, honestly, race started out pretty well and stayed up front with pace and had good pace, and then ultimately gained out a little fuel, and then I took 4 tires and everybody else took none, so kind of took the sacrifice there with the stage 1 of 7th place with points, so kind of lost out there. But obviously, I guess you could say stage 2 played our part with playing the field mileage and topping off, and was able to get that off. And then, yeah, and then the rest is kind of, I don't really know.
Well, it ended up being a great race for you overall as far as the point sheet looks. Of course, a lot of your closest competitors either totaling their cars at the end of stage 2 or at the very last corner there. So huge gains for you on that respect, of course. All in all, a solid race from you, and you seem to just capitalize on everybody else's mistakes. Is that what it felt like from your seat, or was it a little bit more than that?
That was obviously the goal, I feel like, is people say I'm not a road course racer. I don't think I am, but people say I'm mediocre, yada, yada, yada. But obviously put a lot of time in, and DJ was a big part of that, so was able to get my pace down, at least stay competitive, which practicing here helped a lot. I was even practicing this way before Kentucky, so obviously it's the one race I marked coming into the playoffs that was a big question mark to me, knowing that we were down to playoff points and have a bad race here. It's kind of like really sets up for Chicagoland and Bristol for like semi a must win with how big the points are. But no, capitalizing definitely was the game in the name of the game. But I really feel like if we didn't get spun out there by the 8, I really feel like that was probably our chance at the Final Four right there. And not going to let it get down on me, but I feel like it kind of slipped away, and that was the opportunity.
Still a great day, though, but what is the mentality now? Because it might not be such a must-win situation necessarily with how much of a shuffle the points took. What is the mindset into Chicagoland and Bristol now?
Obviously, I guess go out and do what Peach does. Just run the race, and whatever we get, whatever we get. I mean, it's kind of just don't give up, and I guess pull the Chris Cervelle strat and just survive. And somehow, with back against the wall, kind of just pull it out. That's what I feel like we kind of been doing. I mean, had a rough stretch at the Atlanta win, and then just towards the end of the season started clicking with just top 3s, top 2s, lap sled stages. So I guess you could say we're peak at the right time. So I guess you can call me playoff piece, whatever you want to call me. I don't really know. But yeah, just think it's just go to Chicagoland and just do about the same thing. But feel really comfortable there, knowing that we ran top 3, had a shot probably in the last 2 Chicagoland races to win, but late race yellows kind of screwed me out of that one. That's the one that would have been my first win a long time ago. I know you commentated that one with the car spin back at the racetrack. So definitely feel like Chicagoland owes me one, but we'll see. But time will tell.
Well, a great effort and a great couple of weeks of momentum to carry forward. Obviously, if there's anybody you want to shout out, now would be the time to say it. If not, congrats on it up on the podium tonight.
Obviously, got to shout out DJ, the team owner for NFG. Hopefully, we can get some more teammates out here to get the team running a little bit better. I know it's kind of been just me out here, so hopefully I can work with him on that. And then we got to shout him out for letting me drive this car, and Noah Blackwell Designs for painting the Sour Patch Peach car, as always. Painting all my cars, everything you see run, it's all done by him. Go check him out, noahblackwell.com, and at 213 Simware as well. And also, you got to shout out Pizza and Wings Gaming. They do a lot of stuff on the side. Nice to be around them. And I think that's about, obviously, y'all for putting on the broadcast, my fault. And then everybody else back that watches, all my friends, family, everybody that's a big part that helps me, all my mentors that prepare me for half of these races, people that keep me calm and not get frustrated. But yeah.
All right, well, congratulations, Hunter. A solid run for the number 20 car tonight.
Thank you.
And that'll just about do it. We'll have one look, hopefully, fingers crossed, the results page isn't as broken as the ticker was in the last 10 laps or so, and it doesn't look like it is, Kevin, so we're actually going to get an official rundown on how everything shook out. Susie, Zier, and Peach, we just heard from them. Yahir Rodriguez, going to be thinking what could have been a dominant drive once again from the 97 machine, but ends up coming up short after making contact late in the race. Josh Gaiman, similar situation, wrecking on the final corner with Yahir Rodriguez and Bobby Blowers. Dustin Hall ends up 6th. Blowers ends up 7th after basically getting robbed of a 3rd place finish in the last turn. Eli Sassett comes home 8th. David Spiel 9th. Connor Morse 10th. And then Roberg and Height having issues at the end, Height having issues at the end. She falls to where she started in 12th after a good run for her. Further down the order, we have Elias Flores, Josh Arnold, and Katie Height. They all had issues on the end of stage 2, as did Pacey Wygent. Lily Frazier crashing out early along with, but actually coming out and getting some positions. Dean Clavette had issues as well. Jeremy Breo crashing out, as did Apperson and Carter, and Austin Mongold involved in a lap 2 incident with Frazier. The Dr. Pepper man spilled it all over the table tonight, unfortunately for him, and that is it. Only a 22 car field, but it still provided plenty of action, Kevin.
It did indeed, and we'll see if obviously that is indicative of what we see here. I think it's going to be very telling. We'll see the next 2 weeks at Chicago and Bristol and seeing how these playoffs all play out. But overall, great race, very fun. Watkins Glen always does the best, and obviously on sale to Chicagoland.
Absolutely. We want to thank you all for joining us tonight. From behalf of my co-commentator, Kevin Young, I'm Kristina Ryan. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week in Chicagoland. Take care.